All right. Let's do this, bitch. And welcome back. We are Pixels and Pints on a rather balmy Sunday afternoon. With me, I have Pete.
Howdy.
And Dan.
Hello. And I don't have a fan in here either, so I'm going to fucking swelter.
And that's why I'm wearing the singlet. Yeah, stop picking on my costume choices for today. That's what the wardrobe and makeup gave me, all right?
The rest of us wear clothes, Dan. Tom wears costumes.
This is my negligee. So today we're going to be talking about my clothing choices, as well as a bunch of beers. I know Dan's very excited about his choices of beers, so I'm interested to see what he's got. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of games, movies, TV shows, the usual kind of shenanigans we get up to. And this is the first episode of Season 5, the Big 5.
First one in 2022.
Yeah.
Yes.
Funny how those two coincide, since we pretty much shift into a new season every year. But just a couple of quick notes. So in celebration of Season 5 and also our 5th birthday, you'll see new artwork go up at the same time as this episode. I think the artwork looks awesome. But a new colour scheme and stuff. And I will be archiving Season 1. So it's almost pointless mentioning it because I plan to do it at the time we release this episode. So if you're listening, then it's too late for you to... Yeah.
It's long gone.
The old bounty hunter banter episodes will disappear.
Into the ether.
I think it's for the best. Cool.
There we go.
There
Peter,
you go.
talk us through PSVR 2. Come on, let's get straight into it.
We'll get into some news.
Do we want to do beers first? Because I've already cracked mine.
Sure. We can do beers first.
This was one of the ones that I was quite excited about. It's the Mountain Goat Rare Breed Cherry Sour Age.
That is a good can.
Yeah. It's obviously a goat, but in kind of I don't know, it kind of looks like a bit of a Chinese mythological golden. It's very golden. That's probably not picking up on there.
No,
but
it's silver.
Yeah, it's gold, and it's a really, really beautiful can design. And it's not over the top in any way, shape, or form. I did slightly shit myself then while Tom was doing the intro, and I read the... it's probably not going to focus, but it says 375 mils, vertical dash, 6.0%. And I've looked at that vertical dash next to the 6, and I've gone, holy shit, is this 16%? But it's slightly different font, so
that'll put hairs on your chest, Dan.
We're good to go. It's
That's
not
a beer.
It's not over the top in anything. All the flavors are really well rounded, and even that's what they even say on the back of the can, that there's nothing sort of like subtle cherry aroma complemented by floral background, tame acidity, and a well-rounded gift rather than a Brettanomyces wet fish slap to the face. So it's got that oakiness to it. It's slight cherry. It's slightly tart, but yeah, it's not over the top. And it's a real, for a barrel age, it's got that nice sort of oaky, woody background dryness to it as well. So it's nice. Really nice.
Cool. Love a good cherry. Cherry sour, just to be specific. Anyway, Tom.
What's wrong with the fruit? What's wrong with cherries? They're delicious. Perfect Christmas time.
What are you drinking?
I am starting off a little bit lighter. I'm starting with the Wayward Hazy Mid, their little mid-strength beer. This has become my go-to favourite mid-strength beer. It's made in Australia. I've absolutely been crushing these. It's so full of flavour for something that's one standard drink in a 375ml can. Like, that's what it pours like. Like, it's got all of that kind of juice, haze character. It's not overly sweet. It's not overly, like, hoppy and punchy in your face. It's got a nice kind of soft malt black backbone. So I'm like, just thinking they'd probably use some oats in there or something. Light malt and oats. It is just super easy to drink, but something with a bit of flavour, which I find a lot of the newer mid strengths kind of miss. But this is like, I would, if you put this blindly in front of me, like before I'd had it, I probably would have been like, that's a standard like hazy pale, as opposed like, looking at like a 4 or 5, even 6%er. But it's quite light. It's beautiful, and it's now got a staple position in my fridge, which,
is impressive given how much beer you consume.
Yeah. Well, no, it's my perfect walking. Well, I can take Jasper for a walk, so it's perfect for that. It's, take a can down the park, throw the ball, and then come back, and it's still get on with your day. So
I love how you always describe beers in terms of the activities that suit those beers perfectly. It's almost like a sommelier.
I've always got to be doing something, Peter. I need to keep busy. Otherwise, I go into here. I go into the cage. We don't want to go into the cage,
Peter. Cool. So, my
what do you drink? Yeah, I thought you were going to get into the topic then.
No, yep. I'm thinking about it. I'm drinking. Yeah, I'm drinking 8 Wired Brewing's Celery Salt Hippy.
Fucking hell, okay.
Which is a Gose, basically. It's 4%. It's soured with lactobacillus. Contains celery and sea salt amongst all of the standard ingredients. It doesn't have a hop bill. Refreshingly sour and dry hopped, very fruity, almost zesty, naturally soured by live cultures and balanced with the subtle, savoury notes of celery and salt. Wildly interesting flavour experience. Just trying to see, best before 4th of August 2023. There is no zestiness. It's a Gose. You can get the saltwater flavours that you would normally expect out of a Gose, and why did that make you smile, Dan?
Just salt water. It's not a very good descriptor.
But it is what you
dumped at the ocean, and you've taken an open mouthful of seawater. There you go.
It's coming out the nasal passages as well. Been dumped, rolled around.
It tastes the way that you would normally imagine someone taking a standard lightly soured sour beer without too much flavour of anything and adding a couple of pinches of salt. That's, to me, what a Gose tastes like. Right. Typically. You can always get that salty tang, and that's exactly what I get out of that. But I don't get any fruit. I don't get the zestiness. I've got no juiciness to it.
Does the celery come through?
No.
Would you dip it in peanut butter?
You do celery and peanut butter. That's a new one.
Oh, hell yeah. I do celery and peanut butter. Fuck yeah.
Emma does it all the time.
I don't eat celery, so...
It's a strange line to draw in life, Dan.
I just one of those things.
Fair enough.
Celery and cucumbers act the same on me.
Right. Some sort of negative side effect. Sorry, I don't eat mushrooms, but that's just a personal choice. Yeah, I mean, it's okay for a starter beer. I picked it. So I'm doing 4 sours for this episode, and I tried to pick the most weird sounding ones or interesting sounding ones out of the 12-pack I got from Beer Cartel. I always grab those sour 12-packs when I see them.
And they pick the sour packs? You don't? Yep.
Yeah, it's just a fixed 12-pack that they send out, and I think they're up to like sour pack 40 or something like that. So they've been doing them for a while.
They always get pretty rave reviews, so I see why you would.
Yeah, so, I picked this one because it sounded like an interesting and pretty light, refreshing start. But, yeah. So, I mean, it's light and refreshing. So I guess I ticked the box I was looking for. It just, it doesn't kind of stand out.
There we go.
Cool.
All right. From sour to sweet, Dan, tell us all about the Candyman movie.
I thought you were you started talking about PSVR?
We were doing news.
Oh, did I skip? I did skip. Yeah, we're all over the
Hold
fucking
off.
place.
No more Candyman.
Candyman, what are you talking about, Pete? Oh, okay, sorry. I'm looking at it now. I threw a spanner in the works, but I'm going to finish this beer. If we'd done news,
fine.
there was no way I hadn't finished this beer by the time we got there. So.
We interrupt this broadcast with some breaking news from the front.
No, it's fine. It just tripped me up. So, all right, on to news. PlayStation VR, PSVR 2. I have a boner for this. So they did a reveal
In other news, water is wet.
Yes, well, based on everything I've been saying over the years on this podcast about VR. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. So it's going to obviously it's an extension of PlayStation 5. And in fact, they're very much kind of advertising it as part of the ecosystem now. So it's not its own thing. It never really was, but the branding was a bit off. Sorry, I had to get rid of all that lactobacillus. They didn't really advertise it as a PlayStation 4 extension when the first VR came out. It was just PSVR was a thing. This is very much branded PS5. So it has eye tracking, which they've said will allow developers to support being able to interact with your GUI or your heads-up display just using your eyes, which is really cool. It's 4K HDR, so it depending on the processing capability, because I'm not convinced the issue with the original PlayStation, and when I say issue, I don't mean it wasn't a detractor, but it was a limitation. The original PlayStation's quite blocky. You don't get super high resolution textures in your games. I don't know. I'm not convinced it's a resolution of the panels issue. I'm pretty sure it was a processor issue. So they haven't talked about what their processor is going to be or how fast it is in comparison. But it is 4K HDR, which is good. It means it's keeping up with the times. And foveated rendering, which is a technology...
Say that again for me?
Foveated rendering.
Yeah, faster?
Foveated rendering.
Okay. I just wanted to see if you could spit it out quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now say it 3
Foveated
times
rendering.
backwards into a mirror.
So basically, it's a technology that's been implemented in a lot of the VR headsets for PC, and I do like that Sony have been smart enough to adopt a lot of the tried and true tech that PC based, like things like the Oculus and all the other the Vives. Have adopted and have worked, as opposed to all the dead end tech that they've tried and didn't work. So they're kind of learning and standing on other people's shoulders, which brings us a better product. So foveated rendering basically reduces the processing power requirements on the VR headset by reducing resolution dynamically in your peripheral vision. So every video game you play on anything, the shit that's going on behind you isn't being rendered by your graphics card. It's being tracked, all the bad guys and the environment, all the rest of it's being tracked, but it's not actually rendering anything because you can't see it. So foveated rendering kind of takes that a step further, and they know in VR, because they can track where your eyes are as opposed to where your head is, it knows where your peripheral vision is and will reduce the texture resolution on your peripheral to reduce the processing requirements on the headset. So it should make things faster with no noticeable or discernible reduction in quality when you're actually playing games. Because as soon as you focus, it's going to track your eye and render it properly. So, cool little piece of tech.
I'm sorry, all I can think about now is with the eye tracking stuff is when in the Republic Commando novels they talk about how they access their HUD and everything inside their helmets. And it's all through blinks and eye movements and things like that. So can't wait to get if the technology ever advances that far about being able to blink a certain amount of times and turn shit on and
that
change
would be
different
cool.
things.
I'm sure it can. If it's doing eye tracking, then it will also be able to track the absence of an eye. So, and just assume it's
Nobody's going to take it that far.
No, but I mean, hypothetically, it should be pretty easily implemented.
You get
Just
all
put
we need
an
is
eye patch
some-
on before you play it the first time and see what it does.
Need some wild hacker programmer fanboy person to just make a proper Star Wars HUD.
And the irony about you mentioning HUDs is both VR and heads-up display technology you get in cars these days. In like a modern upmarket car, you'll get a HUD. Both of those pieces of text came out of military research. So, you know, it kind of loops back to what you were talking about. It's a futuristic military game, right? That's how they've been controlling aircraft for 30, 40 years with heads-up displays, and then VR was kind of an extension of that, and that's what they're using to blow people up while making the guy doing the blowing up think he's playing a video game. So before we get too political, let's move on.
That's pretty dark pretty early. So
I was just
roll
thinking
on.
that whole time, though, Dan, what you could do is if you get a PSVR 2, you could get someone to mod a Republic Commando helmet. Like,
Oh,
go
you
over the
totally
top of it.
could.
Oh, fuck
So
Totally.
you could
yeah.
imagine
Yeah,
that.
and
Just
it's a
going like, I'm just going to go play games, just going to put on my bucket.
It's a single wire too. This PSVR,
Yes,
so,
it is.
Yeah.
and it doesn't track through the camera either. So you don't have to have a camera set up. So
It's reverse tracking. So similar to, I can't remember, I didn't do a whole lot of research on PC VR because I'm scared the minute I open that Google window, $2,000 is going to disappear from my wallet because inevitably if I start researching PC VR, I'm going to end up fucking buying a VR headset for my PC. But I do know that it uses a system they've adopted from somebody else where the cameras are actually on the headset. So it's tracking you in 3D space by mounting cameras here instead of in front of you.
Yeah, okay, so it's not using the lights and sensors on the headset and the camera in front of the TV to track your recording.
Pretty sure it's using LiDAR or something similar. Anyway, while I answer my own question, let's move on to the next topic.
But wait a minute, the tech's only as good as the programs that are going to be released with it. It doesn't matter if the tech is going to well outweigh everything else. I mean, realistically, what did we get good for the last PSVR? We got maybe a handful of basically tech demo stuff that was any good.
The best titles that came out for PlayStation VR were ported titles from PlayStation 4 games. And all they did was dial down the resolution.
Or 3 in the case of Skyrim.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Oh, PlayStation 3. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
From my perspective, Doom 3D, which was it was kind of a port and a mod. Skyrim VR. They're the only ones that really stand out.
Resident Evil 7, I still haven't played that in VR, and I'm not sure I have the guts to play it in VR because it was scary enough as it was in.
I was going to say that's a proper jump scare game too.
Well,
fucking shit yourself.
7, yeah, no, it was, yeah, and lots of monsters. Like, well, there wasn't that many monsters. Lots of things, grotesque things, being right in your face too. So it's yeah.
So it's one last thing is they've got headset feedback. So they've integrated one of those taptic sensor engines in your head, so shit can literally tap you on the face through force feedback, which is, I think, a bit gimmicky. And the PSVR 2 Sense controllers look like a direct rip of one of the PC VR controllers.
Yeah, they're like glove, like kind of.
That's the
glove.
biggest thing they needed to do was fix that side of it.
And it looks like they've kind of brought it into the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller tech level, whereas they were using the shitty little wands that they released for PlayStation 3.
Yeah, the move controller.
Yeah. So there was
the
a
Wii
PS.
came out.
Yeah, exactly right. So
yeah, they retrofitted that to the VR.
Yeah. I'm very excited. It does explain why the PlayStation 5's camera has been almost an afterthought. They're not pushing it the way that they were pushing it with the PS4. With the PS4, you could buy a bundle and it would come with the camera, or you could buy the VR and it would come with the camera. PlayStation 5, it was a weird omission that they didn't really push it at all.
I really took that, the way they were pushing the PS5 camera was more... It was aimed at people who were going to sit and stream with their PS5. They were meant to be using it for that.
Yeah.
That's what I took away from it.
Yeah, you're probably right,
You're right.
actually.
It wasn't pushed for any...
Not the way it felt like it was in...
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was one.
Yeah, it's different and it's... But yeah, it's a bit meh. And it's incompatible with PlayStation 4 and it's incompatible with the PS VR headset. Because I can't remember if you can even plug the PS headset and the VR headset into the PS5. Anyway. No. Rumors are it's going to be... The PSVR 2 will be released holiday, like Christmas time this year. So end of the year.
And the first game they've announced, Dan, is the Horizon Zero Dawn game.
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, I didn't look very far into it. I don't know if there's how many details they've released on that. But once again, is that just going to be another tech demo? Is it a proof of concept?
Looking at it,
hey,
it kind of felt
this.
like that Batman Arkham VR, how that looked. How that was kind of like a bit techie, or the Spider-Man one where it's like, as you said, Pete, it looks very on rails, and it's just going to go. Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to do the same things you can do in Horizon in it. It'll be just a walk through the world kind of thing.
Yeah, so and that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, if there's not a huge amount of support from the devs and like creating anything that's new and creative and interesting that's going to actually take this tech that they didn't do for the last one. There was a few little ones that I think there were standouts in the indie space and that, but nothing really that pushed the envelope on anything or really broke into the mainstream market on it. And it's just, if they don't get behind it and create these sort of things, it's just another waste of, it's just another fucking gimmicky thing to collect dust in a cupboard and be shoved into fucking eBay's second-hand bin in 5 years.
That's right. For $5 less, you can buy it second-hand, $5 less than brand new. Sorry, I hate eBay's whole scheme around recycling games. You're absolutely right, and it wasn't adopted nearly enough. There were no AAA titles that were ever really pushed for PSVR, and that's fundamentally why the tech kind of just went nowhere. I don't see Sony... Do I see Sony letting it go again? They don't really need the money, so it's not like if they lose a couple of $100 million in development R&D dollars, they're going to go bankrupt or anything, but fundamentally, I mean, look, they're selling those headsets the same as the consoles. They sell them at less than it costs them to make. So if you buy one for $750, it probably cost $1,000 to manufacture. They're making a loss on it, or at least they're breaking even at best. So they only make money through licensing for the games. And if they're not pushing developers to get out there and build AAA titles, then they're going to ultimately make a loss out of the whole exercise. I don't see them... Will they make the same mistake twice? Well, there's been plenty of video game companies that have.
But you've got to look at it too. It's diminishing returns. Is that the right expression for it? I mean, you get the devs that could potentially make an experience that everybody that has a PS5 can interact with, or you can focus and spend millions of dollars on making an experience that a handful of people in comparison to the wider market of the PS5 ownership, or let's talk about backwards compatibility PS4 and PS5.
You know what they need? They need, or we need, some studios, some big studios, to create subsidiary businesses, which they do all the time, that are dedicated to VR games. And that might solve that problem, because if you leave it to the indie developers, no matter how good the game is, they're just not going to get the playtime or the airtime or the advertising dollars to get it out there. You really need an Ubisoft and an EA or a Blizzard, one of those really big guys, to open up a subsidiary studio only doing VR games. That way you get
say it, but I think what you really need, and it hurts me to say it, but I think you really need someone like Activision to make a Call of Duty VR that will get all those 12-year-olds to get their mum and dads to buy that for them, and then that's going to pour so much money into it that then the developers will be like, well, if Call of Duty can do it, like...
And the irony is, we really, really want it as gamers. Even if you don't know it, we want it to succeed. Because if it does succeed, it kind of pushes the technology down a path that we know is going to deliver a different kind of experience. And even if you get sick, like I know you do, Dan, the more dollars that are in that industry, the more dollars they're going to spend trying to find ways to help people that have problems with VR overcome them, or design headsets that dissolve some of those issues for you. I don't know what that looks like, but they've done no research into it.
And so, no, 100%. I completely agree. I think there's a lot of barriers that need to be overcome for this to be in any way, shape, or form successful, and to make its way into a common thing that let's call it, if every second household that's got a PS5 bought a PSVR 2, then it becomes a feasible thing. But if it's 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000, it's pointless, and people aren't going to spend the money. And it's quite a big. I don't know what the price. Did they put a price point on this?
No.
So let's call it.
I reckon it's $750.
$600 or $700 to be modest on what that
it'll be about the same price as the PSVR console, I reckon.
So you've got to buy a $700 or $800 PS5, and then
you got $100 a controller times 2.
Yeah, and let's call it $600 or $700 on the PSVR. Then you've got to buy the games on top of that. Then you've got to have the room, the
their
time.
PS5 ones are now like $130. Like,
so you're up for $2,000 to get started.
Yeah, exactly. And I just don't think that's a feasible barrier for a lot of people at the moment.
And if you want to talk, yes, but it's not advertising to people that don't play consoles today, or they play Switch, or they play Xbox, but they don't play. And the irony there is that's what they're missing out on as an opportunity. Is this is the one thing that they can say without considerable dollars invested, and I don't see Microsoft doing it anytime soon because of their HoloLens project. That is what differentiates the PlayStation console series from the Xbox series. There is no VR for Xbox. So if Sony were smart, they'd be pushing that as the differentiator to get people into the Sony ecosystem.
But they've already won that console war, so that's not a driving force for them anyway.
The console war between PS5 and Xbox Series XS, Snake, whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Solid Snake. It's Solid Snake.
How have they won that console war?
How many have sold in comparison?
Oh,
The PlayStation. Well, in terms of like just the PS4 and what was it, Xbox One, the PS4 outsold the Xbox One for years.
yeah. Well, I will take stats on the PS4 on the previous gen consoles, and say, okay, that's interesting, but I reject any statistics anyone's releasing on the current series, given the silicon shortages and the amount of people out there who've wanted to buy one of the two consoles and haven't been able to, or have bought the other console because they happen to get off. The waiting list was shorter for the Xbox than it was for PS5, and they just wanted one of the two.
The PS5's still winning that, even though PS5s are in shortage.
Yeah, but if you had no shortages for either console, that's a different... Anyway, there might have been more of a difference. Sorry, there's one more thing I wanted to say about this beer just quickly. Now that it's warmed up, fuck me, it's salty. And you do get quite a lot of the celery through it. And it's weird for a sour to change flavour kind of spectrums as it warms up, beyond becoming a little bit more aromatic, which is what you'd expect out of pretty much anything as something warms up. But you do get a lot more celery out of it. And it is kind of like celery salt, which makes perfect sense, really. Tiny little piece of news. We're getting a Moon Knight trailer tomorrow. And I'm a bit... Hopefully it makes me excited to see the movie, because nothing I've seen or read so far makes me excited. TV series, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought just said, when did they decide to change it from a movie to a series, Tom?
When it was, I think it was always meant to be a series.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was meant to be a movie.
I thought it was a movie
I think
too.
they were worried if they released it as a movie, it would be
Trying to
white Batman.
cram too much.
Like white costume Batman. They'd be worried about, like, because if you watch the little, like, they dropped a little teaser, there's a pretty, like, Batman moment where he's got a guy
in the bathroom
guy
where
kind of just beating on him.
Beating the shit out of him. You see the cape flapping every time he takes a swing.
It looks like it's going to be a hell of a lot more mystical, because that wasn't nanotechnology putting that costume on. That was magic.
And was that Kevin Bacon?
He is magic.
Yeah, was that... it was such a quick glimpse of that guy.
Yeah.
I think it might have been.
My Google foo is strong.
It looks too young to be Kevin Bacon, but it looks so
de-aged.
much like him. Yeah, de-aging. Marvel and their de-aging.
Hell of a lot of foundation on that Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
That's not dry aged bacon. That's not dry aged bacon. That's wet bacon.
Ethan Hawke looking real Kevin Bacony in this teaser.
Because he had long hair. Yeah. All I got was Sebastian Shaw from X-Men First Class. Yeah.
But Ethan Hawke's always been a bit of a lookalike.
Yeah, they got similar facial structure. Yeah, but either one, I don't care which one it is. Then they're both excellent actors.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah. And I'm excited. I love Oscar Isaac. I think he's fantastic. So I'd really look.
I think he'd be quite good playing someone a bit psychotic as well. I think he'd have a little fun with that.
Yeah, definitely. Dan,
me and Louise saw him in something.
Is it that gangster film? He's released from prison and he's on parole or something. I saw a trailer for that.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. We saw him in something the other day. I'll find it. I'll find it down the track and come back to it. But I'm
changing the order of shit on the fly.
No. I'm trying. Railroad everything.
No, you're right. You wanted to talk. You wanted to talk about Return to Nangrim.
Yeah, so this YouTube just popped up in my feed the other day, and it just said Return to Nangrim. It was a 30 minute like playthrough. They don't call it a trailer, or no, a demo that he's playing. It's not a vertical slice of the game either. It's basically a proof of concept, and it is a Lord of the Rings dwarf simulator. That's the best way I can describe it.
Is this the game? Hang on, you've been playing a Space Dwarves game with Kel and Sui.
That's Deep Rock Galactic.
That was the free title from December, wasn't it? I picked that up. Yeah, cool.
We'll get back to Deep Rock.
Cool.
So, Return to Nangrim, I downloaded the trailer or the demo on Steam and jumped in. It took me about 30-40 minutes to play through what they've got there. It's really pretty in early access, even though it's not really a game or anything yet. I think some of their ideas and their mechanics are solid. The music is amazing. The vibe is 100% Lord of the Rings. It could have been straight pulled out something that is in the deep, dark recesses of Lord of the Rings lore. This could have been a slice directly taken from it. The music's the same. The aesthetic's the same. It plays really fun. The voice actor voices the dwarf really well with a good little... he doesn't say very much, but what he does says there's a nice little comedical twist to some of the things that he says.
Yeah, cool.
One of the mechanics I really liked was you walk into the area that you can get into the demo. So you go into basically a dwarven university tower thing where they get trained as blacksmithing and by the masters and that. You walk in there and there's some signs hanging above the door, as they do for Skyrim and Oblivion, just to notify what's in that room. And it's written in runes. And obviously we can't read runes. You hover your cursor over it and it highlights and turns to English. And it was just a nice little aesthetic of not having a pop-up name that came up over the door outside of the world, but a good little interaction into the world. You go, okay, runes obviously can't read them. Let's change it in the world rather than it being something external or written in English in the world. Just thought that was a really sweet little aspects to it. There's not too much animation done. It's first person. There's some pretty simple swinging of axes and pickaxes to do some mining and chopping some things down, but that will expand. One thing that really stood out was the cleanliness and beautiful dwarven style of the menus. You open the menu up and it's bordered in that beautiful, just straight lined and triangles and diamonds straight out of what all of the Moria stuff looks like in Lord of the Rings. And each time you click on a page of a book to turn, it beautifully turns over, and the books are really rustically leather-bound books, and you can close the cover on them, and just that sort of stuff. It's just, even what they presented there makes me really excited to see what they're going to do in the end. And it's to the point where I would back this. I would jump in there, and if they wanted to pay $100 now and told me it's going to be potentially out in 2 years, I'd go, yep, here's my money, go for it.
It's due out mid-2022. It'll be available on... But yeah, okay.
But just with the delays that happen.
Yeah, I hear. I'm just looking online at the moment, so I don't know how accurate this information is. It says that it's coming up for PS4 as well as PC and Xbox One. So it's a previous generation console game.
So how long it's been in development. If they've
that's right. Yeah. So it's an RPG where you have to play a dwarf. Is that correct? It's 100% dwarf RPG.
It's called Return to Nangrim: A Dwarven Adventure.
That's fucking sick. If that's how they've implemented it, if the entire RPG skills system and crafting system and like profession system is built around choices that dwarves would make within a created fantasy culture for dwarves, I'd play the fuck out of that.
Yeah. Oh, and it's 100% worth I think the demo was, it wasn't huge, but it definitely wasn't small. I think it was about 20 gigs, 24 gigs or something like that. It's definitely worth just jumping in for half an hour and just having a look at it, even just to stand in there in the atmosphere and in the snowy mountain where he is, and just listen to the music that they've created for it. It's a really, really nice experience. And there was a few things that popped up that mentioned trading and everything. There was no NPCs in the area that you get to play in the demo, not demo, the teaser. But if that expands out, and when you get to more main areas or different mines outside of the training area, there's a potential there for it to be something that you would. I got the same feeling playing that little slice than when I was walking around in Skyrim originally. I just got that little nostalgia thing went off in my head saying, "Yep, this is what I remember. This is what I love," and that went off, and they won me over hands down. So
yeah, that's cool. Did you have any news, Tom? Since you've updated the notes 11 times, but none of us have your notes, it's almost like they didn't exist. Your Deadlock comment, Dan, was that a review or news?
No, that game's been out for ages. It's
okay, so it's a review.
A bit of a review.
All right. Well,
I had a look. There was not much news that was worth talking about.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah,
pretty quiet.
It's nothing on. Yeah, I agree. I did exactly the same thing. Plenty of trailers to talk about later on, though. Do you want to talk about Candyman, Dan, and BSG while I go grab my second beer?
Yes. So Candyman is the new movie from Jordan Peele, which I didn't actually realize it was a Jordan Peele movie. And that's as soon as I found out that, I was super excited to watch it. We found it last night on Amazon and gave it a watch. And it's definitely a Jordan Peele movie. It's obviously, we know from the previous movies the general premise of sorry, my phone's still on. The general premise of the Candyman, outside of his other movies, Get Out and Us, which were quite different and off the wall, but it's filmed in the same style that he does. It's really, certain scenes are really focused on sound and ambient sound of the environment that they're in, with no music playing, but just crickets in the background and just the animals and the insects, and how he really focuses on those sort of things. And it speaks a lot to the plight of the African American people in America still, as how he sort of really focuses in on those sort of things in Get Out, and not so much in Us, but more so in Get Out. This really focuses in on that. And I don't really remember the old Candyman movies. I remember the basics of it, but the actual underlying story of why he was what he was, I don't think it was quite as in depth as what this goes into, and how it taps into that the treatment of the African American people over there. And I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was beautifully filmed, wonderfully acted, well scripted. The music's really well, and I thought the little twist at the end was great. I mean, just the main guy who you follow, his story throughout, and how it culminates with him at the end of the movie, and his girlfriend, just played out a little differently to what you would normally guess. But even about halfway through, you could pick what was going to happen, but it didn't sort of play out as your standard horror movie. But it's well worth a watch. It's just so well written and acted. It's just great, and I can't wait for Jordan Peele to do more original stuff as well. We rewatched Us the other week, and it's just a fucking great movie.
I still haven't seen that.
Are
That's
you
the one where
serious?
the clones knock on the door, and isn't that? And it's part of a sequence of movies.
No, so there's Get Out and Us, and
I'm sure they're related.
well, I don't know whether it's been 100% confirmed, but there is bits and pieces that point
Link
to them
the world,
being them in the same world. Yeah,
I don't know if I don't know what I'm doing wrong. All I've got is head.
it's not that bad.
Probably tip pouring it too. Is this the one you were talking about the other day, or did you see Slender Man as well? I can't remember in the last 4-hour monolithic episode.
The
Empty Man.
The Empty Man.
You're on a bit of a horror movie binge at the moment, are you, mate?
Oh, we watch as many horror movies as we can when they come out. There's been a bit of a drought of them lately, or a bit of a drought of good ones.
Yeah, they don't get much airtime in this house.
I never had any interest.
I've getting more into it, but yeah, Emma's not a fan.
I never had any interest until John Wan. I'm not sure how to pronounce his. I'm sure it's John Wan. Conjuring and
James Wan.
James Wan. Thank you. Sorry. Until he started putting out horror movies, and there were different kind of... I've never been into the slasher movies, like old school fucking stabby, like as gory as you can get kind of horror movies. But his ones are usually steeped in interesting, occult background or Catholic background, and I find that intricateness far more interesting.
Watch Us. Us is probably one of the best thriller horror movies I would almost say ever made.
Wow.
But definitely in the last 10 years, it is absolutely top of the list. It is,
cool.
It's once again, it's what I was just saying about Candyman while you were gone. It's beautifully filmed, it's excellently written, and it's amazingly acted. Us is Us compared to every other movie, just how the actors have to be. And I don't want to go too much into it because we'll spoil it, but how they have to be and the dual parts that they play in those movies, from the kids to the adult actors, is an absolute credit to their ability and their craft, because
they're either all twins or they're actually playing two roles in the same room at the same time for the whole film.
I'm not gonna go into it. You need to watch it. It's one of those movies.
As long as it's not a flubber kind of.
No. It's one of those movies you don't want it to be spoiled. I could go into some fantastic scenes and some excellent duality throughout that movie, but it just, once again, it's a credit to Jordan Peele and his ability to write and script and cast the actors in the movies, because it's just fucking amazing. Us is just a brilliant movie.
Yeah, cool. What was the... What am I trying to... Split, still one of my favorite examples of actors playing multiple characters in the same film. James McAvoy is just... You want to talk about masterful acting. That always comes to mind instantly when you talk about that sort of stuff.
I think Us blows that.
Really?
Absolutely blows it out of the water.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just going to go and get my next beer.
Yeah, sweet. Well... None of us will talk about Battlestar Galactica while you're gone.
No idea what the fuck he's talking about.
What have you been watching lately, Tomo?
Nothing. I don't watch anything. No, I watched Don't Look Up after your recommendation.
What did you think? Yeah.
It was very entertaining. It was nice to see Leo portrayed as the dick. I really liked that. It was nice for him to play this kind of bumbling guy who's just a dick, when it came down to it. Like, he had so many opportunities to be the good, nice, bumbling professor, and he was just like, nah, I'm just going to be a dick.
And then he cheats on his wife and fucking and fucks her over badly. And the dialogue between those two when she confronts him was just, yeah,
and especially with Cate Blanchett just sitting there just going like, well, this is awkward.
She's fucking great in that scene, though. You could just see her in long black silk gloves with a cigarillo in her hand, just watching this shit unfold like it's a stage show.
No, we enjoyed it. It was a good fun film. Other standout, Jonah Hill was also just a massive cockhead, but he was so good at playing that cockhead. Like, it was very funny.
So Dan and I kind of got into this in our big episode where. I thought he was playing a character well, and yes, that character is very Jonah Hill. But Dan was arguing, no, he wasn't playing anyone. He was just being Jonah Hill.
I think he was just being Jonah Hill. Like, watching it, I was just like, so I was like, yeah, you're just being a bit you. Yeah, that's fine. That's what worked for that character.
I felt that it was specifically designed to portray a type of person in American culture, though. Just a guy who's 100%
rich prick mummy's boy.
Oh, and male white fucking privilege. Like, he's the walking embodiment of exactly that concept. It's just...
But no, it was...
and completely disconnected from reality as a result, which was the funniest part of it.
Yeah. I don't know. I really took away...
I want to put a prayer out for all our stuff.
Yeah.
I really want to keep our stuff.
That's why I was like, it's just Jonah Hill being Jonah Hill. He's a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I met him in a bar, I'd walk away and go, that guy's a dick. That guy's just a dick. He is a floppy phallus. But yeah. So no, that was entertaining. We haven't really been watching much lately. It's Emma's straight back into work, so it's been...
well, you're about to go away, aren't you? I'm assuming she's coming with you.
Well, I'm going to see her family, so I hope
that's
kind of weird otherwise.
Yes, we do fly out in 4 days on Thursday.
Yeah, wow.
USA.
Awesome.
It's going to be fucking freezing as opposed to me sweating absolute bullets right now.
You're going to need more than just a mask over there.
I bought my N90 mask today. I'm ready. Bring it on. Get to go full tactical. I'm going to go get my second beer. Look at this. Okay. We're like rotating. This is fun.
Yeah,
let's do this more often.
This is exactly what I'd hoped it would be.
Mine I had no hopes for, but it's exactly what it says on the can. Talk about Battlestar Galactica Deadlock. I don't know where you find the time to play all these games, in amongst everything else.
Yeah, that's the problem. I was playing Deadlock just before this because I wanted to start the campaign and just to get into it a bit more. Because I'd only played the tutorials, but I was very impressed with the tutorials. And I've been looking at it since it got released.
Yeah.
But never got around to it. And more, I want to play something. And this is exactly what I was saying to you guys previously, is why Tom put me on to Guardians of the Galaxy. I love open worlds, and I've banged on it about it before, but I just want something that's a little bit more confined. And I wanted to play something super tactical. And I really miss playing X-Wing Tabletop, the X-Wing miniature game.
Yep.
And this is X-Wing miniature in the Battlestar Galactica world on the PC. And it's fucking great.
I'm just looking at the screenshots now.
Yeah, so it's you're within a set boundary area for each mission that you have to have. You have to...
And you're a fleet commander, obviously.
You're a fleet commander, yeah. So you direct all your ships and command all your ships in how they do. It goes in turns, which it's not turn-based, but it's in turns. So you set the actions for all of your ships, everything you want them to do. You hit end turn, and then it plays out in live action for 10 seconds, and all your ships execute all of their turns and moves and firing off everything they need to do. And then it pauses again. You redirect all your fleet again. You hit end turn again, and then
So hang on.
Yep, go.
Sorry to interrupt. So you execute all of your actions conceptually at the same time the computer does, and then they coexist. Essentially, they unfold in real time simultaneously.
100%. So you have to preempt what they're going to do as well as come up with your own strategy. So it's not one ship moves and then the other ship moves and then one ship. It's all, once you hit that end turn, it's live action for 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Yep.
And then it pauses again and you go from there. And you can, it's why I say it's the same as X-Wing Tabletop is that the only difference is there's verticality to it. So you can move your ship up and down as well as forwards, turning, all that sort of stuff. But it's on one plane. You can't twist your ship. There's no rolling. So it is playing out on one plane. Mostly how the TV shows and that, and I mean all the Star Wars battles and everything like that. The squadrons and that go under the big ships, but you don't really see an inverted rebel ship going up against a Star Destroyer.
No, if you want to see that kind of space battle, you need to go and watch something that's far more realistic, like The Expanse.
Exactly. So this was exactly what I was looking for, and I can't believe I hadn't started playing it before then. It's fun. The sound design, everything is Battlestar, and I loved Battlestar. And the sound design is exactly out of the remakes TV show. Mm-hmm. The music is all in the same vein as that TV show. It's all stuff made for the game. Mm-hmm. The voice acting is just mission briefings and things like that. Some people said that's a bit stale and doesn't really interact very well. I've found it fine so far, but it doesn't bother me. It's not what I'm there for.
Some of my favorite games, and sorry, I should rephrase that. I have fond memories of games where there's basically none of that. There's no voice acting. There's no. If you look at something like Dungeons and Dragons Tactics, Warhammer 40k, I think it was Space Marine Tactics, both games for the PlayStation Portable or the PS Vita, which was first, PSP, where they didn't have a lot of space on those cards or those mini CDs. The games couldn't be big, but they wanted to fit a long game in. Fuck me, they were enjoyable. And again, very much a tactics game, turn-based, no bullshit, no huge, special effects. The graphics are crap. Thoroughly enjoyable games.
Yeah. I mean, the graphics on this are fantastic. I mean, it's Battlestar. I mean, it's fucking
It actually looks like they've made conscious choices to make it look like the TV series as opposed to the latest in modern-day graphics.
Oh, no, 100%. It's the TV series through and through. And it even when you finish the mission, it gives you this glorious playback in 100% real time of the mission that just went through with all of the Battlestar Galactica TV series camera movement glory.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's fucking beautiful.
That's a really nice touch.
Like your ships can be splitting off and going in different directions, but it might be focused on the right-hand ship, but if your left-hand ship just destroyed that Cylon ship, it'll pull back in that sort of shaky cam and then zoom all the way into the one that's blowing up, and then it blows up, and then it goes back to the action. And I mean, the squadrons, the Viper squadrons, when you release them from the Battlestars, you can barely see them on the screen. They're so goddamn small. But in the replay, it's the side-mounted camera on the side of the Viper, so you only see from the cockpit. Just like
it was in the fucking series.
Exactly, and it's like they're going up to the Bay Stars and the big Cylon ships, and they're tiny in comparison. And it's all playing out in real time in this beautiful playback of the mission that you just executed. So you can see how much you floundered around, or you can see how well you actually executed and drove your fleet.
Well,
so I'm looking forward to getting further in it.
Yeah, that's cool. The thing I like about those styles of games where you can plan your whole move out while the computer's planning out their whole move, and then you press the go button and you see how it unfolds. It just constantly reminds you that, the plans and reality in battle are two totally different things. Oh, so you can plan it all out on paper, essentially, which is what you're doing when you're having your go or your turn. And then you hit play, and then the reality is totally different.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, you can hack the ships and everything too. So you might have this whole plan to save your missiles until you're really close range, but you might get hacked, and then they might take your targeting system offline or something like that.
And then you're fucked.
You can't fire your missiles. So your whole big plan there is just absolutely turned to shit. And it's
classic.
I'll see it records your playbacks as well. Yep. So I'll see if I can find the file, and now that I'm on that Discord channel, I'll see if I can drop it into that Discord. And the one that I did, the first mission that I did, it took me probably 15 or 20 minutes to actually do the mission, but then the playback's like a minute. So it's because in the real time, there's no time. So it's I'll see if I can drop it in there just so you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, cool.
Or drop it in OneDrive is probably a better place because Discord's probably not the best spot for uploading files. Cool. Talk about beers, please. Just cattle prod us.
All right, mate.
Awkwardly along.
Please talk about them.
I'd finished what I was doing. This is exactly what I'd hoped it would be. It's a tart, dry, juicy, like lemon juicy, lemon peel, pithy.
Yep.
XPA. It's great.
Yeah, cool.
It's nice. Fucking awesome. Moondog Lemon Hazy XPA, 5%. It's dry and it's got that pithy bitterness to it, and a lot of lemon there. It's almost soft drink like. It's almost alcoholic solo, but with that kind of slight beery background,
more juiciness,
but not something that's overpowering that lemon side. It's fucking awesome.
Out of 5?
I should have bought a fucking 6-pack or 4-pack or whatever that came in.
What would you give it out of 5, Dan?
An untapped rating.
Yeah.
How many pixels out of how many pints? Come on, out of 5 pints.
How many?
Use the rating system.
I think you might have said that right at the start too, Tom. We never adopted that. The problem is, Dan, so every week when I do this, particularly with the remote recording, I listen back to what we say and update Untapped, and I do the little graphics for our videos. Now, Tom always updates his ranking out of 5 on Untapped, so I just go back and see what his ranking out of 5 was. I know what mine is. Yours, I just have to listen to you and through
you just tell by the telepathy
tone of his voice. And telepathy and interpretation and some interpretive dance, I come up with a ranking out of 5 for your beers.
You know what? I would probably
give that a 5.
I would probably give that a 5. I probably would. Because it
was exactly what you wanted.
It's exactly what I wanted, but it also delivers exactly what it says it's going to deliver.
Yep.
And I like
makes perfect sense.
The rare breed that I had before, everything that it said on the can, it delivered. It didn't go over the top in its promises and then not deliver on any of the flavor aspects
Which
of
is
it.
rare.
So are you giving both beers 5 out of 5? Is that what you're saying?
I think that's probably a way to go, yeah.
I'm going to regret asking you what your ranking was because every beer that Dan reviews is going to be 5.
No, it's not. You know that.
Tom.
Nice guy Dan strikes again.
Someone's got to bring up those Untapped stats because some of those stats, you look at a beer that you've really enjoyed, you go to Untapped and its average ranking is 2. And
Don't get me started, Pete. We've already had my Untapped rant. That was last year, but that's fine. People don't know how to use it.
It's a whole new year.
Whole new year, whole new rant coming right at you. It'll be after the 4th beer, so it's really coherent. No, I'm drinking. So today is the 16th of January. Today is Jasper Day. Today is the day that we brought Jasper home. So every year I have a Jasper ale, and so I have it on my podcast. And it is, it's a fantastic hoppy, like light hoppy red. I love a red ale. So it's only 5.4, so it's nothing too big in your face, but it's got that nice caramel flavor on the back. Not a big like hop punch. It's kind of like a nice bitterness all the way through, and it pours like look at that. It's just lovely color.
Oh yeah.
It's just a nice kind of deep red. But yes, every year, 16th of January, Jasper Day, we have a Jasper together. So
it's one of their
he's
core ranges.
Passed out in front of the fan. So they did make a core range. Yeah.
I've just got to jump in there just because it's hot as fuck. So these are warming up really quick, and as this warms up, it's getting a lot more like nectarine and mandarin flavor to it as well. To it as well.
Interesting.
It's really well rounded. Fantastic beer. Sorry.
No, not at all. I was going to say with Jasper in front of the fan, I've got the opposite problem. I turn on the aircon in the house, and I've got all my aircon set to. I've got two outlets, but one compressor at the back. So 2 heads, 1 compressor. And when I turn them both on, the house hits 22 pretty quickly, and that's what I set it at. I'm walking around the house in bliss. The cats apparently don't like penguin land that I like to live in, so they go and find the hottest corner of the house. So I've left the bedroom open because the bedroom never gets the aircon in it. It's a furnace when I try and sleep at 9 o'clock at night. But Loki and Kara will sleep on the bed all fucking day just to escape the cold air. Weirdos, considering they're covered in fur. So Dan's muted himself, I can tell, because the hiss has gone.
Louise just got home, so I can hear Indy complaining at the front door.
So I'm drinking a beer that's kind of similar in that it delivers exactly what it says it will. I don't even know who the brewery is. Gweilo Brewery? Yeah, Gweilo Beer. The Rainbow Sherbert Beer.
Jeez. Look at those
Sherbet sour beer.
Yeah. That's taking me back. I used to love those lollies. They were great.
Cantonese term meaning ghost chap. I don't think Beer Cartel would sell me a beer that wasn't made in Australia, so I don't know.
Surely they would. They import a whole bunch. I get some great beers from them.
It is too. It is distributed in Hong Kong. There you go. I don't know where it's actually brewed. Oh, sorry, brewed and distributed in Australia by Rocky Ridge Brewing Co. So it'll be a recipe that's shared amongst, Rocky Ridge, also in WA, and Northern Territory. We've only gone and brewed it locally, mate. Brewed for us in Australia by Rocky Ridge Brewing Co. Never heard of Rocky Ridge. Have you?
I know Rocky Ridge. Yeah, I've had a few of their beers.
But also distributed throughout Hong Kong and a bunch of Chinese cities. So look, it does exactly what it says it does on the can. It's fucking sour, but it's got a really strong kind of that tangy strawberry sherbet flavor to it. It's a lot more mouth-puckeringly sour than most of the sours that I drink, which is interesting. And geez, you get a lot of it on the nose. Nostalgically redefining. Doesn't tell me the ABV on the can. 1.8 standard drinks. So it's going to be 6%. There you go. 6% sour is pretty decent.
I do wish I'd brought more of those.
Cool. So I wanted to quickly just talk about a completely disappointing movie, which I've got to say I didn't have high hopes for, but it fundamentally delivered exactly what I expected it to. Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
Ooh.
What?
I don't know. I just wanted to add that for dramatic effect.
And I went silent because I've got no opinion.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
Nah, I haven't had a chance. I should go see it, but I haven't.
Look,
I was going to wait for it to come out.
It's a movie streaming. That if Tom Hardy wasn't in it, you wouldn't bother watching it. If it was anyone else, you wouldn't bother watching it.
Woody Harrelson isn't any good?
Woody Harrelson is a solid actor in that you give him a script and a character and he'll play it. The script they handed him and the character they gave him was a shit script and a shit character. So he does as well as you can expect an excellent actor to do with a mediocre script.
Fair enough.
But he didn't. It's not a standout performance. It's not one of his best performances by any stretch of the imagination. It's very two-dimensional. The whole movie's two-dimensional as fuck. Carnage, and I mean, look,
he's a shame because the first one was great. It was just like that. It was a kind of a picture of Tom Hardy going around with the description underneath it, and it's like the best thing about this film is that Tom Hardy looks like he's either coming down off a massive bender or he's like sick with the flu the entire time, but it's just him in a sweaty grey hoodie the whole time, being like deep pockets for eyes. There's no senseless like look at my ripped body kind of scene where he rips the sweatshirt off. It's just
and
but
that's
he plays it chaotically.
And that's exactly what I said at the start of the review. Like if it's you watch it for Tom Hardy, if he wasn't in the film, you wouldn't bother watching it. Not only his look, but the fact that he's playing the two main characters against himself. So they did the same thing they did in the first film, where he'd record two separate scripts and they mash them together. So he has to act off against himself. You've got to think
that's easier though when he's doing something like that, when he doesn't have someone there to talk to, because he can play out the dual script in his head, how he's going to play the other side.
Yes, but so much of comedy. And you've got to hand it to either Tom, and I suspect it's Tom Hardy more than anything else. Comedy is all about timing. The way that you deliver the line, the exact moment you deliver the line, how much delay you leave in between. Now, it's probably easy to get the timing right if you're taking a WAV file that you've recorded separately in a studio and jamming it up against the movie's audio stream, right? To get the timing perfect. But that timing has to be perfect to the person speaking it. So the comedic timing in this movie is actually about Tom Hardy against Tom Hardy. It's two totally different recordings, but it's the same person. I don't know. I think he does a great job, and there are some funny dialogues between the two, the same as there was in the first movie. But the actual film itself, the premise, the backstory, what they're showing you, meh.
Ben said the same thing, didn't he? When he watched it, he was just like, "Yeah, it was fine."
I don't remember. It
was ages ago.
It does link straight into Spider-Man, which you two have seen and I have not. So I can only assume, and I'm pretty sure I already saw a spoiler that Venom might have been in it. Can you confirm?
I don't confirm. I don't confirm anything for you, Peter. If you haven't seen it, you have to go see it. Go see it. Go watch it right now.
Well,
go.
The very last scene is the announcement that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. So it's got to link straight into that movie. Considering the whole new Spider-Man movie is about the start of it's about him revealing his identity. Cool. Did you want to talk about Deep Rock before we go to a break, Dan? I'm trying to keep these episodes short because I've got to say to you guys, as I've said offline a number of times, we're losing listeners with the 3-4 hour.
Well, it's because you keep rabbiting on about bullshit for hours. So, don't just blame us. You're blameful in this as well, mate. Thank you very much.
No, I mean that wasn't on the list, so I don't think we need to touch on it.
You sure?
Yeah.
You just want to go out for a smoke?
Definitely, because that's been priorities through
that's what he's been doing the entire time. Yeah.
I'm just hanging to stick one of those cancer sticks in my mouth.
Dan just drops down on his gas lift chair and fucking fires up a stogie. I could totally see you with a stogie in your hand.
Can I do it? Can I work out how to do it?
Which lever is it? There's like 17 under there.
Is it fun? Is Deep Rock fun? I mean, it's a free to download PS5 title.
See ya.
Didn't go down very far. Dramatic enough. It's fun to an extent.
Right.
It's I think there's something like 10 mission types or something like that, but then it's just they're procedurally generated environments. So every environment you go into is different. It's a different layout.
Is it RPG? What's consistent across missions, or is it just one shots in a row?
No, they're basically one shots. Yeah, you're just going in to mine resources and come out to upgrade your character cosmetically and very basic stuff with weapons.
It seems like it's definitely one of those games you'd have to play with your four mates. That's where the joy is.
You have to. Yeah, there was
a kind of a one shot experience at the same time, even with your mates.
Yeah, there was a lot of funny moments in the hub world. That's
kicking
where
boxes around. I must admit, it must have been
around.
Yeah, it must have been one of those you had to be there moments, because I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I got it. It was funny for the first 10 seconds, and it went on for 15 minutes.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like,
it wasn't literally 15 minutes, obviously, but it was like no. So Sui uploaded like a 5-minute recording of just Kel and I think it was Kel and
Steve, probably.
Yeah, and Steve just kicking boxes.
Yeah, I mean, but that's for us to watch. That's not for the wide. That's not for the wider world.
Of course not. I'm not going to put it up on the podcast either. I just
no. I mean, there's shenanigans there that happen, and then you go into the missions, and I mean, it is limited resource missions. You have limited ammos. You got to call in ammo drops, so it does get a little bit of a hesitancy when you're down to just your pickaxe to fight off hordes of bugs, and it's wave fighting. It's not limited enemies, so the waves will just keep coming and they'll progressively grow stronger and stronger and stronger until you have to, pardon the pun, bug out, because all the things you're fighting are bugs. And some of the mission types are really fun and interesting, but I mean, you play them 3 or 4 times and that's about it. And then unless you really have a deep-seated urge to like play and grind for hours and hours and hours and hours on end, to get all of the scrib to like get all the tiny little different hair designs and gun skins and everything.
Okay, so it's a short time, it's a good time, not a long time. How's that?
So we'll probably when we play, we'll probably jump in and play a mission, one mission type, and then jump out and play something that's got more longevity.
Yeah, fair enough.
As a warm up.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
For a palate cleanser.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right.
Nice.
Let's might take us away to a break.
Yep.
Hey. Hey.
And we're back.
These guys have just won me back.
I always try and use my annoying voice when I say that. And we're back. Do you want to talk about your beer first, or do you want to...
Oh, yeah, okay. Interesting.
I love a good peanut brittle beer. I don't know about Gose.
It's the first peanut-based beer that has actually tasted like a fuckload of peanuts or a fuckload of peanut butter or a fuckload of peanut flavoring has been put into it. And it tastes like liquid peanut brittle. It's caramelly and it's salty and it's peanutty and fucking great job. That's excellent. Absolutely excellent. And I've steered away from Bacchus for a long time because they've let me down a lot of times. But that's awesome. That's
redeeming.
Fucking
so it was
great.
The peanut brittle Gose?
Yeah.
That was called?
Yeah. 4.9%.
And you're going to give it 5 out of 5, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Great.
Well, that was the one that won best beer at Gabs like 5 years ago or something. I remember that.
Oh, did it?
Okay. Oh, did it?
Yeah. I think it was originally a Gabs beer, and it won best beer at Gabs. And
that's so good.
You can see why.
See, I always associate Bacchus. Aren't they the ones that do the bottles with the handwritten labels?
They're not.
They cans.
They're printed. They're printed to look like handwritten, but yeah, it's all cans now.
Well, they fooled me. It's all cans now. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What are you drinking, Tomo?
I'm just about to crack it. It is Otherside Brewing. Their Belgian Amburana Ale. Which
Amburana's come up a lot in the last couple of episodes.
That's why,
never before.
Yeah, I know. That's why I grabbed it. So they say this is an ale for the festive season, so it's a little bit late. It's beginning with complex Belgian esters on the nose, followed up with rich malt character, layered with bourbon, finishes with notes of gingerbread, vanilla, and spice from the Amazonian Amburana wood. So yeah, this is I haven't had an Otherside beer in a while. They're over in Fremantle in WA. Yeah, beautiful brewery as well. I was lucky enough to go over there.
Louisa Tate.
Cool.
So I'm
sorry, Tom. What was it actually called again?
It's the experimental series Belgian Amburana Ale.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was listening to you so intently, but I didn't write it down.
Nice and dark. I have a bit of a up and down with the old Belgian ales. Sometimes they really work for me. Sometimes they just don't.
I'm not a big fan of the note you get out of Belgian yeast specifically.
That estery character.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is full of it.
Like it's very farmhousey normally.
Yeah, that kind of old world taste.
Mm.
They say it's like a little bit of like ginger spice. I don't get heaps of it, but as it's very cold cans, so it might, as it warms up, that might change.
Up.
Yeah. I think this would definitely be better. It's definitely a bit too cold. It'd be much better a little bit warmer. Something like that, which won't take long in the current climate. Yeah, I get a little bit of that ginger spice at the moment. Not so much of the vanilla, but heaps of that Belgian-y ester.
Belgian-y goodness.
Yeah, no, it's good. I've always really liked Otherside's experimentals, but they haven't been around this side for a while, so it's good to see them back. This side.
I had to give Louise the rest of the can.
She demanded the can.
No. I offered, but I guess it's appropriate that I'm actually drinking it out of my.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. Gab's glass. Fuck! I laughed hard when I went back to edit the video with you getting the finger up, asking her to book you tickets to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I almost shorted it, but it's too much of an inside joke. It wouldn't have made sense for just random punters who don't follow the channel and just see it.
Yeah.
I got to say, and this is very much a tangent, and we're famous for our tangents. The thing I love about posting YouTube shorts, and there's a reason for doing it. It's a good way to capture the attention of people that don't know anything about the podcast, who just happen across it, listen to a funny story, or there's a bit of a topic that they might be interested in pop culture, and go, I'll check out the channel, and we end up with another subscriber. And it certainly does work, because we've had a shitload of new subscribers. And if you're not subscribed and you do listen, even if you only listen to the audio, please go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. We need 1,000 subscribers. We've got like 25, or else I'm never going to be able to pay for all the gear. But the thing with shorts is the way that shorts work on YouTube is you might search for something that comes up with a short, and then it shows you something random next, and then something totally random next. And it's all on your kind of topics and interests. But when I go and look at the 600 odd people that watched one of our shorts, the search terms that are associated with them seeing our episodes or our
Absolute cockheads.
Okay.
I don't even know I want to know.
So let me just give you a real example. This is for the Marvel TV Thoughts, which is probably one of our more serious YouTube shorts. It's kind of amusing, but it does talk about an on-topic pop culture thing. It's not just a random joke. And our audience started their short journey. They didn't get to our short, our video, but they started watching shorts by typing in the following search terms. 10% of our listeners: best of Pat McAfee show, gorilla farting and running, Icebox, Johnny Blaze, and then all one word. Excuse me.
One
Try
worm.
that again.
Sandworm.
All one
Dude.
word. Lean beef patty.
I mean, that is often how I describe myself.
It's so fucking random. And
Probably
obviously,
the gorilla
Also,
fighting.
who's looking up videos of lean beef patty, all one word?
it's obviously a person. One of the other shorts, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Okay, that makes sense. Conor McGregor, dog making snowman, game changer lie detector, and Gilmario Vemba. So I reckon this is going to just be another 5-second 5-second piece of our episodes moving forward. I'm just going to read out the random shit associated with a random short because fuck me, some of the search criteria that come up are hilarious.
Yep. Do it.
So my third beer, it's not my final beer, is Bridge Road Brewers Peach Sour with Elderflower. It's a pretty can. So it's a simple can, but it's
I had that
quite
a couple of weeks
striking.
ago. That's quite nice.
It's a low ABV. It's 1.2 standard drinks, so it's got to be 4.3%. This light-bodied fruited sour is brewed in the style of traditional German Gose. Its high mineral content balances out the acidity and makes for a dry and refreshing finish. Here, a lush, peachy palate is elevated by subtle floral sweetness of elderflower, making this a warm weather staple.
It's an interesting way to do it. They talk about mineral content there. Adding like calcium salts to the mash water to balance out your water, so it's basically hard water. It's
hardening the water.
It's got a lot more mineral content to it. It's an interesting concept. And it's even more interesting that it's such a major part of that recipe that they put it on the can.
I'm glad that but a traditional like a kettle sour, a mash sour, the lactobacillus sours, they all have their own kind of quality to the overall sour style. But a Gose is always saltier to me. Now, these guys have put on the can, it's called Bridge Road Brewers Peach Sour. Sorry, I've stopped drinking outside of the podcast, so alcohol's affecting me a lot more than it used to. Peach Sour with Elderflower. It doesn't say anywhere it's a Gose other than if you read the fine print, and yet it explains why the beer is so damn salty.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the actual beer, it smells like peach, but it doesn't taste like peach. It's quite bitter and dry as a flavor profile. Like most sours, there's almost no hops, and you do get that. You get a lot of salt in the back palate, so like it ends salty, but you get that stringency of. It's like the floral astringency. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's its own kind of bitterness. And I can only
Sucking on too many flowers, Pete.
It's all that elderflower in there.
You
Makes
take
sense.
that however you want it, Peter.
Yeah, no, I'm going to leave it the fuck alone. Is what I'm going to do.
This warming up now too is like the chocolate characters coming out a lot more, and that salt's carrying on even more through it. It's fucking great.
I swear that I've tried that in a bottle.
Yeah, it used to be all
I mean,
bottles.
Yeah.
They used to be all bottles. Yeah, and it's been around for years, that beer.
I hate peanut butter chocolate, but I really enjoyed the beer, and I love peanut brittle.
I don't like Reese's Pieces. I
can't stand it. That's exactly where my head goes.
I like peanut brittle, and this batch, fucking liquid peanut brittle. It's
cool.
It's not.
So it's got that real caramel toffee balance against the peanut.
And the chocolate's coming out a little bit, but the caramel and the peanut is the big front part, and then the chocolate and the sweetness are the back end of it, and then finishing right off with the salt. It's a really amazingly well layered product. If they haven't changed their recipe, then it was the perfect move for them going to cans, because that's fucking great.
Yeah, cool. Sweet.
Lovely.
Trailer trash.
Trailer trash. Trailer trash.
Yeah, how many times I did a voice recording to do that little sequence and then ended up not using it because it just didn't work.
Fair enough.
Mother Android. Dan, you said you've started watching this. I saw the trailer and
I don't know if we watched it. It's only a movie.
I thought it was a series.
Nope. Movie, we watched it last weekend.
Is it good?
Yes.
Because the trailer makes it look almost modern day, like it's obviously post-apocalyptic. Android slaves or android helpers, butlers and stuff have rebelled. It's almost Terminator-esque, but not.
It's like if Terminator met a zombie movie.
Yeah, and that's... I love the description, because that's exactly the vibe you get out of the trailer.
Yeah, Terminator cross The Walking Dead. That's what it is. Yeah.
I love the CGI, or the... actually, it looks like practical special effects of the lady who's obviously been captured and is being studied. That's what it looks like in the trailer. Of just the fucking grotesque android face and the teeth and shit underneath the skin that's been taken off.
Yeah, I mean, it follows that Chloe
Grace Moretz.
There you go. It
From
follows
Kick-Ass.
Yes,
she's all grown up.
It follows her and her boyfriend in a cross country, or not quite cross country. They're trying to get into Boston.
Yeah, she's going up the East Coast.
Yeah, that's it. They're going from like New York to Boston or something like that. Or they've come from somewhere around there. Went to New York and then to Boston. But it starts with their trying to get into Boston side of it, and there's not actually that much android in there, but it's that ever looming presence, like the zombies in The Walking Dead, that they are there and they show up enough within the movie to be a nuisance and
a real threat,
and a real threat to humanity on that side. And it's how humanity has dealt with that android side, and then it's quite a personal journey with that larger world happenings over the top of it, but it stays throughout. A start to finish a personal journey. It doesn't go into here we are all to save the world, and at the end of the movie, everything is nice and bright and peachy.
No.
It's a fucking dark ending. It's probably one of the darkest endings I've seen in a movie. And there was one thing that happened at the end which really soured it for me. But it was just I guess a stylistic choice to make a very dark ending not quite as dark.
Okay.
Right.
And that soured it for me. I mean, if you're going to go a dark ending,
put the kid in she has the baby, and because she's pregnant through the whole movie, and that's obvious.
I didn't want to go there if you didn't know that. Yeah. I haven't seen the trailer,
no. The trailer makes it very clear that she's pregnant. She's trying to, and I think there's actually 2 or 3 trailers out, because the one I watched this afternoon to refresh my memory of it was a different trailer. But no, she's clearly pregnant. She's trying to escape the androids.
She's just trying to get somewhere safe to have the kid. That's what she's trying. That's what they're trying to do. They're Boston.
So unless they put her on a wicker basket and it starts, that's and then she dies from the inevitable death from the androids. I love a good post-apocalyptic movie where I know this sounds dark, and maybe it just means my soul's blackened, which it definitely is. But I hate the whole shiny, sparkly ending to an otherwise the world's over, guys. It's not coming back.
That's why I love cosmic horror, because cosmic horror never turns out good for anybody.
Well, I mean, even like I think it might have even just been the end of season 1, but The Walking Dead, the first thing they did was throw that red herring of, let's go to the CDC center because they probably have a cure, and then there's an illusion that illusion that there might be a cure, and then they realize by the end of the season, no, people aren't coming back, and we're not stopping this thing.
Yeah, and he finds out everyone's got it.
Yes,
Yeah.
But you don't find that out until like 2 or 3 episodes in. But it's when the guy in the CDEC tells him something, you pretty much.
Yeah, and that's and all it did is increase the threat slightly. But the irony is the reality. I suspect strongly people who write these zombie films and these post-apocalyptic films, it doesn't matter what it is. I think I was watching something recently. It might have actually been Horizon Zero Dawn, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But it was Expanse. Sorry, I'm halfway through season 5 of Expanse. We were talking about it just before you got back, Tom, before we went into the second half of this episode. Someone actually says in the film, humans are tribal. And when everything's good and happy days, tribes are really big. But as soon as shit goes wrong, tribes get really fucking small really fucking quickly. And that is such a good analysis of the human condition that as soon as shit goes bad, suddenly segregation and it's everything, it's always who is us and who is other. And I like that good post-apocalyptic films kind of explore that. The real threat in The Walking Dead is not the zombies, it's other people. Because tribes have shrunk. It's no longer the community of a city or a village or a neighborhood.
Fight for the resources, all
it's
that kind
family.
of stuff.
Yeah. It's
also
a really interesting way to put it. It's succinct.
It's also where Walking Dead started to get really boring.
Yes.
Because they would come up against the governor in season 3.
It got formulaic. That was the problem with it.
And then 2 seasons later, they defeat the governor, and then it's somebody else, and then it's Negan, and then it's just...
No.
Yeah,
but
Negan was where I stopped with Walking Dead. After when Negan came in, I was just
the baseball bat.
It's just going to be the same again. Like
I got 2 episodes after the baseball bat, which I think is the first episode of that season. The
Glenn death's pretty. That's probably one of the worst.
But it wasn't even like it was pretty shocking in the goriness, but it's certainly not the worst thing I've seen on TV in terms of goriness. But it was just, and it wasn't it wasn't a couple of seasons for the governor. It was 1 season. The whole show has been formulaic from the start. The first season was different because they've got to explore the characters and who the fuck we are and where the fuck we are and what the fuck's going on. Ends with the CDC. Second season was the farm. By the end of the season, they'd had to leave the farm. The third season was the governor when they moved to the prison. And by the end of the third season, they had to leave the prison. It's the same fucking story told over and over again. And I get they're stuck in this loop because there is no happy ending and there is nowhere to go. But if they can't tell an interesting story or drive it somewhere else that's interesting, then just fucking end it. Anyway, way off topic. Sorry.
Yep.
Post-apocalypse. Love it as a concept. Uncharted. I think we got the final trailer for Uncharted. Sorry, Dan. What did you want to add?
No. I was just going to say, if you want to see a depressing end to a movie, watch The Void. It's a cosmic horror with a lot of practical effects. And,
okay.
It's got
I love that we're
fucked up ending.
I love that we're in a renaissance of practical effects. Because CGI has gotten to a point where you could essentially replace and we are replacing entire actors with CGI now through what do you call that replacement technology?
The dots.
Deepfakes. Thank you. Yep. Well, that too, mocap, but with deepfakes, the de-aging technology, just CGI in general has almost become seamless. That unless you knew that. Like, you have to know that it's impossible.
I disagree. CGI now is either you've paid for good enough or you haven't. And it's
I'm not saying there's not still bad examples, Tom.
Shitty CGI out there.
What I'm saying is we've gotten, like, Hollywood has gotten technology for computer-generated graphics in movies to a point where it's seamless if they pay enough. But they've still gone back and realized that practical special effects have a place in the world, and they've come back. We had almost no practical effects for a long time. And now all of a sudden, the movies
I totally agree with you, because my case in point is, and I'll always come back to this, is Lord of the Rings. You watch the original trilogy, how good the fucking orcs look, and then you watch the Hobbit trilogy and all those CGI orcs, and it's like, they're weird. They're they're not there. But
There's just something not right about them.
You could legitimately be scared of Lurtz. If you were thinking of watching The Fellowship and you were like, Lurtz is chasing me, you'd be like, holy fucking shit, that orc's gonna eat my face after he shoots me with his bow. And the creaking noise of that bow, I'm going down rabbit holes. Anyway,
wait a minute, who's Lurtz?
The big Uruk who kills Boromir with the bow.
Okay.
But then when you watch,
because he was a 6.5 foot tall fucking Maori built like a brick shithouse with some paint on.
And then, you watch the Hobbit trilogy, they've got I can't even remember the name of the lead orc they use in that, the white orc, who ends up having the fight with Legolas on the ice bridge, and you're just like, he's never really threatening.
He's never intimidating.
There's
no
at all,
presence because he's not present.
Yeah,
ironically,
he looks, so fake compared.
But even Legolas's jump across that falling bridge, where he whipped around, I think he was with his. It just looks so poxy.
Trilogy.
And yet, just to paint a good contrast, the latest Boba Fett episode where he gets the Rancor, that Rancor is really fucking there. That is a Jurassic Park style fucking Triceratops on the ground that he's patting. And
you do have to thank JJ for bringing back practical effects to Star Wars, because he did that with Force Awakens, and that was a big thing for him. And then who was it who played the? I can never remember his name.
Seen the Void. I'm going to watch that.
Who played the guy who let me see the baby? When he in Mandalorian season 1. You know the guy I'm talking about, the old guy. But when he called Jon Favreau a coward if he didn't use a practical Baby Yoda puppet. If he said on scene, he's like,
good on him.
If you don't use a practical puppet, you're a coward.
And yet,
it's
so much
like that's balls. That is big brass fucking balls going dunk dunk together to just go to the Jon Favreau, who's a pretty big deal, to be like,
he's a pretty
you're
big
a fucking
deal.
coward. Yeah.
And yet, if you watch all the behind the scenes stuff, they really did, like the cast and crew really did bond with that puppet.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that there is still a place in, if you're going to have human
100%.
actors on stage, you can't just be acting against a fucking metal ball.
But there was a really interesting thing in that
and if you're interested as to why they use metal balls, sorry to cut you off, Dan, we'll come back to it. If you're interested in why they use metal balls, jump on Discord and Pete's Tech Corner channel on Discord. I'll tell you why they use metal balls.
Oh, I can't wait. Anyway, Dan.
Sorry, Dan. Have you not seen that? In all the behind-the-scenes stuff, when an actor's playing against what will become a CGI character, they use a chrome ball on a stick. I'm
wondering what the fuck you were on about, metal. Yes,
they use a chrome ball on a stick. The Camino...
I know. You don't need to explain it to me. I know.
Well, there's a very specific reason why it's chrome.
Yes, I know.
Put it in the Discord.
They mentioned they're talking about the Grogu puppet and how that even if it doesn't move there at some points there where it doesn't move like a real creature would, but the people are interacting with a proper puppet. And Filoni says the thing with people going, well, that's a real thing really there on set that people are working with, makes the person watching it go, well, yes, that's real because it's really there, even if it doesn't look 100% real.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that is... Okay, so babies do... babies aren't coordinated. They do... Like real-life babies. My brother's just had his first, right? So babies move a little bit weird and juddery sometimes. So there's an element of realism there in a puppet moving a little bit imperfectly. And I wonder how much of it's a connection back to Yoda, who did not move perfectly. And so as people watching it, just you kind of connect that Grogu with the original Yoda, and it's consistently imperfect.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to trailer trash. Uncharted, I think
fuck.
Yeah, that was a 20-minute tangent. This is why people listen to the show, right? It's random. I'm kind of don't want to say anything else about... I don't have the energy to say anything else about Uncharted until I've seen the film.
I'm going to put it out there. Mark Wahlberg shouldn't be Sully. He doesn't look like Sully at all.
Oh, we've said that. I totally agree with you, mate. And I've only spent...
And he doesn't have a mustache. Doesn't have a big, thick lip warmer. So he's really got... He's starting on the back foot there.
He doesn't even look like the character. He doesn't sound like the character. He doesn't act like the character. I just don't get it. I don't...
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm not
We'll wait
even
to
bothering. I haven't even watched the trailers, and I'm not going to. Don't give a flying fuck about it. I will not pay a single cent to see that movie. If it's on streaming or free-to-air TV, I will eventually watch it.
Well, the irony these days, if you want to watch something as soon as it comes out, and I've yet to take the plunge, Dan, to find out if Villeneuve was right. I haven't bought Dune. It's released. You can buy it on Apple Plus for like 20 or $32.
Nice.
So by next episode, I will tell you whether or not that French fuck was right or wrong about whether or not it's worth watching on my TV.
Yeah, he's right.
It's almost the same cost of a ticket in a cinema these days, just to watch it online and stream it without any physical copy of the medium. So, fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them 3, Secrets of Dumbledore.
I don't know, man. Harry Potter's going to come off weird. It's going to go a bit weird.
Have you seen the first two?
I reckon. Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, I reckon Mads Mikkelsen will make a much better villain than
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp ever did.
I disagree. I think Johnny Depp, but he wasn't. He was supposed to be introduced in film 2, and he was supposed to be the star in film 3. And I think it's a shame that we didn't get to see where they took Johnny Depp, because he's a great actor.
I think in recent years, Johnny Depp has been a great actor. In recent years, he has just fallen into the same traps, and it may be because he's played a lot of the similar characters, but like he falls back on the old staples. He's not really.
He's still a Tim Burton pop out character to me. He'll always be that.
Yeah, but going back pre-Pirates, like Once Upon a Time in Mexico is one of my all-time favorite films. Like, and he's fantastic in that. But you can then see parallels between that and his Jack Sparrow. Like, it's like then that he's starting to get into that, like, he had a rhythm, it worked. And it's kind of, he's just been, for a long time, it's just been more of the same.
He needs to play some more serious roles, I think. Otherwise, you end up in a, like, if you look at Brad Pitt, he plays a really good crazy guy. Like that bumbling crazy guy. And like 12 Monkeys style, and for a while he played 5 or 6 or 7 roles in a row that were very similar. It's lucky that
Have you seen Burn After Reading?
No, I haven't.
Not years. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
His character, that's fucking classic.
But he has played other roles that are so like diametrically opposed to that style of character that you can tell, like, he hasn't typecast himself. If you look at him in Fury, where he's a tank battalion commander, it's a very serious role, and he plays it straight down the line, and he's brilliant in it. It's still nuanced. It's still Brad Pitt.
The only thing I took away from that movie was, why were the tanks firing different Star Wars lasers the whole time? It was World War II, and they had red and green, like, I don't know, it was like meant to be like tracer shots, I think, but it was just for some reason.
They were tracers.
Yeah.
And they did really use different coloured tracers in World War II, so it was actually quite realistic.
But the way they presented it, like, I was watching it, and I was like, I thought it was a greght film, but like, in that scene, I was like, one of the first fight scenes, I was just like, it's X-Wing versus TIE Fighter in tanks. I'm for it.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Yeah.
I've got to say, I really enjoyed Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the first one. The second one was okay, but it wasn't as good as the first one. The first one is set in the Potter world, obviously, but it's so vastly different in terms of the storytelling style, in terms of how small the story is, how fun it is. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm actually looking forward to the third one, where they're closing the kind of loop on it. I almost
felt like 5 films, wasn't it? The Fantastic Beasts series was meant to be like 5 films.
Hasn't she made enough money? Really?
Not much she's involved anymore, but yeah.
Well, no, she's got to sign off on all of it. She's made that very clear from the start.
Yeah,
and good on her.
Yeah, I think originally it was meant to be like 5 films.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it still is. I don't know, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I like the fact that they've tightened it back to Dumbledore, and I just even one of the comments in the trailer about 1 point to Hufflepuff, or 1 point to, I think it was Hufflepuff. It just, don't connect it back to the Potter world. We know it's set in the same world. You don't need to jam it in our faces. So, anyway,
they do for the not
kids.
us, for the younger,
for the kids who don't get
the kids coming up who will then go and buy all the books, or buy collections of the movies and watch them, or whatever they're on. Yeah.
And here's the last trailer before we move on to the spotlight. and I was taken a little bit by surprise. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So the sequel to the animated,
great.
It was.
Oh, really?
It's one of my favorite animated movies of all time. It is so perfectly drawn and scripted and acted. I can't say enough good things about Spider-Man. Into the Spider-Verse? Is that what it was called?
Into the Spider-Verse, yep.
Yeah. I didn't even know that they were developing a sequel. But I mean, it's a very brief trailer. I'll throw it up on the YouTube version of the podcast episode. It's a very brief trailer. It's almost a teaser trailer. It only goes for about 15 seconds. And what's her name? It's not Mary Jane. It's Gwen.
Gwen Stacy as Spider-Gwen.
Stacy, thank you. As Spider what?
Spider-Gwen. That's a character.
Spider-Gwen. Got Spider-Man
2099 in there.
2099? Is that
Tom Holland apparently cameos in it.
Spider-Man 2099 is being voice acted by Oscar Isaac.
Okay.
Yeah. They've actually just came out yesterday and said that for every Spider-Verse they go to, it will have a distinct art style as well, which I think is really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the first one was like, it was like it was almost it was in your face, like in terms of like the way the art just kind of popped. So for them to go like, well, cool, like, and like I loved that, you know, when they focused on Spider-Man Noir, it became kind of dark and rainy,
muted. Yeah,
and it was just, you know, Nicolas Cage having fun with that role. But it's like so in the second one, every Spider-Verse they go to will have a distinct art style.
So did you guys play Shattered Dimensions?
No, I always wanted to, and I missed it.
That's exactly what they did for that. So you play Spider-Man.
I remember I've seen all the gameplay videos,
black and white, and Spider-Man 2099 in the surreal kind of cyberpunky kind of thing.
PS3 title.
Yeah, it's old.
Yeah, there were 4 Spider-Man. Regular,
it was 4.
Venom.
I can't remember who the other one was.
Regular, Venom suit.
Was it Venom
2099?
suit?
Yeah, and Noir.
Yeah.
Symbiote suit. You can't call it Venom suit. It was never a Venom suit.
Symbiote suit. Yes.
I can call it whatever the fuck I want.
And they had different.
They're different.
Spider-Man who hasn't seen the new Spider-Man movie, fucking got him. Pow pow.
Let that play on.
There's your short.
There's your short.
I'm definitely excited to see it. Emma and I loved it. We went to the open air cinema to watch it. It was fucking.
I cried. Yeah, it's an animated movie.
Yeah.
Like I never expected. I sat down to watch it thinking it's going to be another one of those old school 80s cartoons, and blew my fucking mind. I've seen plenty of animated movies that are as decently good as any Hollywood movie, but I just didn't expect it out of this. I don't know why. It just took me off guard.
Even just the stylistic choice to remove every second frame, like just that stylistic choice is.
Did you ever use the Into the Spider-Verse costume in the Spider-Man game?
No, but I'm going to fire it up on the PS5 at some stage.
Does it do the same thing?
Yeah, it judders the character costume.
Just the character.
So it's like,
world.
The world's fluid, but the rest of it's just like, and it's like, it is a bit like
jarring.
Yeah, it takes your brain a couple of seconds to get used to it, but yeah, it's good.
Very cool.
All right, Spotlight.
I need to go get my 4th beer.
So do I. I need to wait.
So, do you want to take a short break? Let's just take 5 minutes. We'll do that. Come back and do the 4th beer in the Spotlight and close out the day. And we're back.
Guten Tag. Well, I've cracked my 4th beer.
Yes. Well, before we get into describing beers, we'll let us taste them a little bit. Tell us a tale about the plague.
Yes. So this game, so it's Plague Tale Innocence, is the name of the game. It was a PS Plus free title a few months ago. Then I grabbed and I'd seen people.
Was it? I might have missed it. God damn it!
I think it was It was only the PS5 version. But you could still grab them.
PS5 now.
Yeah, but that's the weird thing. A lot of people, like my little brother's like, I was like, did you grab this when it was out? He's like, nah. And I was like, oh man, you know, when you have a PS4, you can still add them to your library as a PS5, and then when you have a PS5, you can download them. So he learned that lesson the hard way. So it's set in medieval France. You play as the older sister of, and you got your little brother. It's pretty like it's a slow moving game. It's a real stealth game. So you have limited like weapons. You have a sling where you can throw rocks, and then various like alchemical kind of compounds. So eventually you can throw like one that starts fires, one that put out fires, and that all plays into the gameplay.
Sounds like
but
Thief.
it's
the original Thief.
no, I think it's less like thieving. It's more just you're trying to escape. So you're being well, yeah, like sorry,
enough.
thief. You are breaking into houses and getting shit and stuff. With this, it's pretty linear. But your character is trying to escape the Inquisition. So it's all based around the Black Plague is just starting at the start of the game. A real warning to anyone who likes dogs or really like me loves dogs. There is a scene in the opening where a dog gets destroyed by the rats, and it's almost like the rats are a blender, and it was pretty horrible. I almost turned the game off and put it down and was like, nah, I'm not playing this. I powered through, and then it like
Weird move.
It was quite horrific, like, but it sets the tone earlier for how gory, like not overly gory. It's more it's kind of off-screen goriness, like for most of it. So the rats in it, the rats play a major part. So the rats are the plague carriers, but they're also you use them to your advantage. So you're creeping through the back streets of a town, trying to get from point A to point B, and it's quite linear. The rats who carry the plague are afraid of fire. So you either use fire to keep the rats away, or when a guard's walking through, you will put out the fire, and this tornado of rats will just strip it bare. And then you're just left with this.
So there's certainly a fantasy element to this game.
Yeah. Oh no. It like at the start you're like, oh, this is going to be pretty. Like I thought it was like going to be pretty historical and like fairly, and then like maybe 15 minutes later I was like, okay, holy shit! Like the rats are magical. Like yeah. But it was really cool. The story is fantastic. Like the character, it's very character driven. It focuses a lot on the relationship between the younger brother and the sister. And as you go through, like how they develop in terms of like what they can do. So the younger brother really starts out as like a burden. So you have to like hold his hand while you're creeping through. If you let him go to try and go do stuff, he'll panic, and that'll alert the guards and bring them in. Even if like there's one point where like later in the story he gets captured, if you go too far away to try and like kill a bunch of the guards before you release him, he'll panic, and then he'll start screaming in the cage, and then all these guards rush in, and you can't fight them all. Like you can't fight your way out of it. They're just too powerful. It's like one hit kill, and then it resets the last checkpoint. The character you play as the sister. For 90% of the game, there's one level where you play as the little brother. She gets a real sense of like growing in terms of like her abilities. So you start off when you can like, it takes you forever to like aim up a shot with the sling. But eventually you can pretty much snipe with it. Like she gets a little bit overpowered, in terms of that sense. But yeah, I really recommend it. There's a sequel coming out. It was announced late last year. But some of the scenes with the rats, like the way you use them against like the enemies, it's pretty horrific. But like there's a bunch of scenes, like, so I did warn Emma. I was like, she doesn't really like rats, and I was like, just so you know, this game, like there's like thousands of rats, and I mean thousands of rats on screen as well. They move like a
swarm.
Yeah, but yeah, you can like when you set them onto someone by like putting out the fire or whatever, and eventually you get like a little chemical compound that you can throw at people, and it attracts rats to them,
like a pheromone.
Yeah. So and it's just like, but there's this whole blob of rats just goes and just whirls up, and you see these guys that get taken down into it. You're just like, I should feel bad, but fuck you, pal. Like I'm just trying to creep through this area. Obviously, it's being set in medieval France, and like with the Inquisition, there's like this whole bunch of like old school like Christianity that tied into it. It does get quite mystic, like almost magical, mystical kind of, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, really, really cool. Very, very good story. Highly recommend. Only took me about 20 hours to finish it. And even that's a lot of it was you are creeping along for a lot of it, and you have to really plan. If I take out that guy will see it, but if I take out that guy and then quickly hit that fire, then that guy will run into a swarm of rats, and it's like eventually you feel like a bit psychopathic when you use rats to kill people. It's a bit like, but yeah, it's a really solid game. Took me by surprise, and of course, being the weird fuck that I am, I decided to play it as the COVID cases were spiking in New South Wales. I was like, you know what? I'm going to play this game about the plague. That seems appropriate. Yeah, it's thematic. So,
Yep.
But yeah,
Works.
if you guys can get your hands on it, like if you find it cheap or it's on a sale or something, I really recommend grabbing it. It's a really just solid story, and I didn't think I'd be as into it as I am, but now I'm excited for the sequel, like to see where it goes. Yeah,
Good.
so
Cool.
I watched the trailer for the sequel. It seemed a lot more kind of like action based, but I think that was more like it was a cinematic trailer. So I think they're just like hyping
Focusing
it up.
on the action.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really cool. It was gorgeous as well. Like I played the PS5 version. It was fucking gorgeous. Even for like the really plague stricken areas, it was like. Yeah, and there's some scenes where you're like in like a rat's nest, and it's like you feel gross, like, and there's dripping, and especially I was playing with the
Why did it have to be
the 3D audio headphones, and I'd hear goop like behind my ear falling behind me, and you just go, oh fuck. But yeah, really good game. Really took me by surprise. But I'm glad I played it. So yeah, Plague Tale: Innocence. Get around it if you haven't.
Awesome.
Little
And
5-minute
Mafia
review of that
3.
one. Yeah, Mafia 3. I've just about 80% through. Well, probably not more 90% through my first playthrough. You have it's all obviously Mafia based. Title gave that away. So it's set in the south of the US, so like a fake Louisiana, New Orleans kind of area called New Bordeaux. You play as a guy named Lincoln Clay, who has just returned from the Vietnam War. And this is pretty important to the story. He is a black man in the South during the 60s. Mm-hmm. So NPCs, you walk into the wrong service station, they call the cops on you instantly because it's a no coloured allowed kind of place. They put a disclaimer up at the start of the game, which I thought was really actually very good, that they said they chose not to ignore what had happened in that period of time. To ignore it would be to dismiss it, and that's not what they're about. So there's a lot of really bad, a lot of bad racial slurs that are used, but they're in kind of a context and they add to the story. Gameplay wise,
we can't learn from our past if we just deny that it happened.
Yeah, 100%, and that's what they talk about. And I think it's a really good move. Like you can't ignore it, and you should be like you feel uncomfortable when someone's repeatedly using the N-word to describe your main character. And it's just like, can you stop? Like, but they use it, and it's like, I imagine it was pretty hard for the voice actors as well to do that.
Yeah.
It's not. It was only. I think it was a late PS3 or early PS4 game because it's the remastered edition now. Gameplay itself, I never played many of the GTAs, but I imagine it's pretty similar.
So I played Mafia 1, and it's going back a long time, and you had to identify it was the first game that I'd played. It felt like a GTA clone at the time.
Well, it's
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same engine.
The same studio. It's not Rockstar, but it's the parent. What's it? Take-Two Interactive?
Take-Two.
Yeah. So it's made by those guys. Yeah, it's you're running down the road and you don't have a car. You steal someone's car and throw them out. If someone goes to call the cops on you,
2K games.
Yeah. But I think it's the overarching developer who owns Rockstar, and sorry,
2K is a subsidiary of Take-Two. You're right.
Yeah, there we go.
Fuck, those studios have changed hands so many times over the years.
Yeah. But so it's for anyone who's played GTA, it's a period GTA game essentially.
Yeah.
But it's God, it gets repetitive. Most of the missions
that's where it lost me.
Yeah, most of the missions are you drive to point X, kill person or interrogate them, and then steal the money, and then you go to the next point. And so there's like nine districts, and they're broken down into 2 like rackets you need to split up, and you can give them to various bosses that work under you. But after a while, it's just like it's the same thing back and forth.
And you end up at so many back at so many of the same locations and that too.
The amount of times I've gone to the fucking bayou, like
Yeah.
I want to set that place on fire right now. I just want to burn the whole section and take it off the map.
It's pretty
I did find though, this is a really annoying thing, and I don't know how. I thought it was like maybe just the way this particular mission was crafted, but I've noticed in other missions. So one of the ones there's the guy who's like, I need you to steal some cars for me. I need you to get 3 of the same car and bring it back to me. He's like the Irish dude. And so you go, sweet, I'll do that mission, click on it, it sets a thing on your map, and it puts you at the furthest one. So you got to drive, 3Ks to go get this particular car, switch out of I've got the fastest car, so I drive there in no time, but then driving back, it's like you're puttering along in this fucking truck. I then found out that if you actually look at your map, there's ones much closer, but the game purposely sends you to the furthest one in just what I'm going to call a fucking dick move. So, like, it's just making you, like, drive unnecessary. There's no fast travel, which, like, I'm a good 30 hours into this game. I was like, I'd be 20 hours into this game if I could have just been like, I just need to go to this section. Can I get a train or, like, a mystical bus that just jump on it, get there, come back? But no, you've got to drive everywhere. I will say, though, the world feels very lived in to the point where, and this is like one of the most little minor things, but if it pisses down with rain, and I think the rain, like, kind of animation was good. It felt like when it was really pissing down, it was really pissing down. But if you startle someone by, like, quick, turning into a laneway and they have an umbrella, and they drop the umbrella, then they'll run away with their hands over their head. They won't pick, like, they don't, because they're, like, scared, they run away. So it's like little things like that. It's like that makes the world feel so much more lived in. Yeah, it's just those, like, that's a nice little thing that I took away. But yeah, I mean, it's fun for someone who's never really been into those GTA style games. It's definitely a game I needed to have, like, be on holidays to play. Like, I needed time. Because I'll be doing, 4 to 6 hour stretches of playing at a time, and I feel like I'm not making a dent, but then when I actually look at it, I'm like, oh, I made a substantial dent at the time, but it's just like there's so much back and forth of, like, you drive out to one place, do the thing, come back, and then the dude sends you pretty much back to the same spot. It's just like, I just want to kill you now. Like, come on, pal. Like, yeah. So
it's poor design.
But the story's great. The story's fantastic. It's quite raw in parts. Yeah. Oh, so this is the thing. The soundtrack the dude wrote for it is great. It's quite thematic. It's really blues based. Really fits with the time. The in-game, like, car radio, there's 3 channels with about 6 songs each. So after an hour of playing, I was really fucking sick of it. So I found,
can you turn the radio off?
No, there's no option to turn the radio off. You can turn the music all the way down, but it also kind of kills any of the atmospheric music. And there are sections where, like, particular songs will play and they fit the thing. Like, there was one, it was playing a Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison Blues, as you were trying to get a dude out and you're getting chased by gangsters in cars behind you. And I was like, hey, that works.
Yeah.
But it worked for me in that, so I just put on use the Spotify app on the PlayStation and put one of my playlists on. But I then started being like, all right, I'm going to be a bit of a weird guy with this. So I'm going to put playlists that don't fit the game. So I made, like, for the pub, I once made, like, a really 80s camp playlist. So putting that on, so, like, running through, like, a Mafia warehouse.
With some disco music.
No, like, I Need a Hero, like, and just, like, killing guys from out of, like, cover and stuff. It just made it, like, so much more enjoyable for me.
Discord
to break that,
as hell.
Which is what that point was I was making the thing, like, one of my favorite movies is A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger. because the soundtrack at so many times does not fit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and like
Lots
ways
of
you can
Queen
make
in
that. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's English, so it's got to be a lot of Queen. But I think one of the favorite scenes is the first tournament when it's "Taking Care of Business" by Bachman Turner Overdrive, which is, I love that song.
Yeah.
But like, when you break the atmosphere of a game by playing music that's completely different, I find that hilarious. And it's like, now I want to go do it to some more games, or like games
Just
that
to
I played
see
before.
how it plays out.
Yeah, it's just like there was certain songs that played like really camp, like 80s or like in late 70s disco songs, but you're in the South in the 60s. It's like that wouldn't fly at all. But then you're there and you're like hiding behind cover with an AK, like shooting mafia dudes. It's just like, it's so discordant. It kind of just makes it kind of comical.
The same as Guardians after the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Like, yeah, it changes the mood of the game, and like that's what it made it more enjoyable for me to like when I
The
felt
game
like
or
it
the
was so
movie, Dan?
repetitive.
The game. Well, both. But the game. Tom talked about it when he was talking about the game. You go into the huddle, and if you like, once you break from the huddle, it plays one of Star-Lord's tracks over the top of the fight that you're doing. So I was fighting the. Can't remember what, but I was fighting the Dweller from the Dark or Dweller from the Deep.
Oh, the big
Lady Hellbounders, and after the huddle, and it was a Tina Turner song or something. I can't remember, but it
Sounds
was
about right.
Yeah.
The only problem with the two movies was it felt like Guardians 1, they used all the best tracks for that kind of scheme of music playing in the Guardians universe, because the soundtrack for Guardians 2 does not touch the corners of the soundtrack for Guardians 1.
Oh,
I listen to Guardians 1
I disagree
all the time.
Nah, I really like a lot of the tracks in 2.
Yeah,
Especially the one when Yondu's doing the arrow through the prison, and it's the like the Mexican folk song. It's the guard artist is Jay and the Someones, and it's Come a Little Bit Closer, and it's hilarious, and it's when the whistle arrow is just blowing through all the dudes. I love it. I love that one.
Yeah, but if I listen to just the soundtrack, I'll always put the first movie's soundtrack on over the second movie's soundtrack.
Oh, no, I disagree. I'll put the second one over.
Lego or whatever. Yeah, okay.
Let's see what the third does then. He's got a lot of ground to cover with the third.
Beers.
Yeah. Yes. You first, Peter. You've always gone last.
Yeah.
Time for you to shine.
It's because I'm a gentleman, Tom. I'm drinking Three Ravens. Passion. You could have just let that go through the wiki. It was set up so you could just leave it. Three Ravens, Passionfruit Creamsicle.
I've done a few of the creamsicles on this, I think.
Just looking for the ABV. 3.5%. Fruited sour beer with lactose and vanilla. And that pretty much based on our original sour beer acid. This seasonal variation, it's hard to read because it's on this weird, like, aqua and orange kaleidoscopic 70s background. Variation includes rolled wheat and lactose to provide extra silky body, vanilla and French oak to enhance the fluffy mouthfeel and creamy flavor, and passion fruit pulp for an experience that will take you back to summer treats from the milk bar. Freezer ingredients, milk bar freezer, sorry. Ingredients, blah, 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 blah. Vanilla yeast, bacteria, food acid, E338. I think the food acid E338 is what makes this beer. You never see anything like that on the back of, like, the contents of a beer. Color number 42738.
I mean, E numbers. I mean, that's conservatives, aren't they? Artificial.
Yes, they are. In terms of my take on the beer, it smells. So when I first cracked it and it was a perfect 6 degrees, it smelled like ice cream. It had a real sweet, ice creamy smell. But as it's warmed up, just a little, it now smells like Passiona. In terms of the flavor profile, it's always tasted like Passiona. It's just it's got a lot of sweetness to it, so it's not perfectly Passiona. You do get that extra lactose, but it's good. It's not a standout. I'm not a big fan of the whole ice cream sour movement. Not movement.
I've had a few of those creamsicle ones. They've done at least 4 that I've had, and they're blueberry, raspberry, all the standard flavor, mango.
But it's not just Three Ravens. We've tried some of those ice cream IPAs and those kinds of things where they add lactose. And
but I'm talking about the Three Ravens brand in particular.
This series, yeah.
Yeah. I find them quite... Yeah, the vanilla's never overpowering. You get still enough of that sour taste. Sometimes when you get vanilla added to a sour, it becomes too sweet. And it's the sourness is just lost, but I find that's quite balanced.
It is. You're right. It is quite balanced. So it's good. It's just not mind-bendingly good, if that makes sense. But solid, does what it says on the can.
Yep.
Since you're the son of the order. Okay.
I am drinking Range Brewing Sign of the Times. It's a double IPA. I was saving this for when I went and watched The Matrix, purely because of the can art.
Yeah.
But then I remembered I'm not meant to sneak beers into the cinema because I'm a law-abiding citizen at times. And also, I don't think I'd want to watch The Matrix while drinking an 8.2% double IPA. I think I need my full attention at that one.
You definitely want to watch it sober, stone cold sober the first time, and then get really fucking stoned and rewatch it.
Yeah. So they just say it's a modern double IPA. It's loaded with Nelson Southern, Citra, and Citra Cryo. I will admit I didn't expect it to be as hazy as it is, but it's a thick boy. I actually thought it might be like a double West Coast. I thought it might be a bit. When I just picked it up. I literally picked this up because of the label. I walked into the Union Bottle Shop, saw it there, and I was like, "Thank you. I'll be on my way." But yeah, it's got all that classic Citra hit. It's kind of that.
As pretty as the label is it still almost inkjet printer sticker-esque?
I've
noticed some Range Brewing. That's almost part of their
they just got a plain silver
branding.
can, and it's
looks like someone sat there with an inkjet printer in those sticker pages and just printed them all out.
Yeah, like
clearly they didn't. It's been labeled properly, but
yeah.
I'm not
I know the feeling you think. It reminds me of the we have one of the label printers for the online orders we send out, and it prints that certain thing. It does feel like that. But I like that. It's simplicity. It's easy.
It's
nice.
become part of their branding almost.
Yeah, it's lined up as well, Dan. So don't worry. Just look out for you. Yeah. Boy.
Oh, that's miles out.
Yeah.
But so much so that it's the top of it's over the
oh no, the lip.
Yeah.
No good. But it's a solid double IPA. It's good. I just didn't expect it to be as juicy as it is. I thought it would be a lot clearer. But hey, I'll drink it.
Cool.
And I've got White Bay Random Ripples Hazy Pale. Mm-hmm. As soon as I cracked it, I could smell Nelson hops. So Nelson, it's got Mosaic, Nelson, and Riwaka. It's good. Really fresh, nice, hazy pale. It's not. Cool. It's not into IPA territories, even though it is 5.8%. So it's borderline.
Pretty close.
But it's a really dry. It's got a low bitterness to it, but because it's so dry, it's got that perceived bitterness because there's no extra sweetness there to balance it out. So it's got a little bit of that dry bitterness to it. The hop expression's really nice, and the blend and use of hop is really good. Yeah,
nice.
Great. It's nice. About a 4p.
There we go. I'm actually getting a nice sharpness to this actually. When I'm having it, it's hitting the side of my tongue, just right at the top, right at the tip. Not the tip turn to the left. Left. Yep. Just the first sip, it just kind of hits that kind of spot of the tongue flavoring palate. It's bright and sharp, which is cool. But it's only come as it's kind of warmed up.
Yeah,
minimal floaties as well, which is nice. A few of the hazies I've had lately, I needed a tea strainer to get them into the glass.
they're trying to pack so
There's
much
extra
hazy.
proteins.
Yeah, exactly. The haze proteins, just they're overdoing it now. It's getting a little bit silly. Cool. All right. Well, let's move to our final topic for the episode. Hopefully, not a 3-hour episode.
Yes, Peter.
So I'm balls deep in playing Horizon Zero Dawn. So I thought it'd be a good time to talk about open world games and what actually makes them good, as opposed to the large volume of shit open world games out there. So what differentiates them? Horizon Zero Dawn, I'll talk about when I'm finished the game again, but it's very much sucked me in. And I said this to, I think, Tom, before you came back, Dan, in the break. I'm really glad I started playing it on the final weekend of my 4-week holidays. Because if I'd started playing it at the start, I wouldn't have done anything this holidays. I just would have played that fucking game. It's very much sucked me in. It is a excellent example of an open world game. So
I disagree.
Made me.
So we'll have some interesting things to talk about.
And I think I know exactly what Dan's going to disagree with. I think I know exactly what you're going to say, but so I'd love to hear you say it so I can say yes or no. And I will be truthful.
So yeah, what makes a good open world game?
Well,
Dan,
I mean,
kick us off with Horizon Zero Dawn.
I actually think Horizon Zero Dawn, I think it's a very interesting game, but I don't actually think it's a very good open world game. I find the open world quite empty and boring. I think they've done a nice job in the aesthetic of it, but no actual content there to fill it out. And the hub cities are boring as shit. I mean, there's no life to them.
There's no there, and I agree. There's no life in those hub cities.
No, there's figures
beyond the casual racism as she walks through.
The NPCs there, but I mean, there's no
atmosphere
to
culture.
it. No, well, there is the culture. The culture, each one was different because the tribes were different in different areas.
But no. But sorry, culture isn't defined by having the same NPC model dressed in a different color. That's not culture.
They did. The tribes were different in the different areas. They had different housing and building and clothes and everything like that.
The hub areas did feel different. Actually, that just reminds me really quickly of a Plague Tale. The same character model was used for almost every single enemy. They all looked the same. I was just like, after getting killed by the same French-looking dude with a fucking beak out to here, like a toucan. I was like, wow, that's
maybe it was a plague, Dr. Tom.
No, it wasn't a mask. But yeah, I know what you mean when it's like it doesn't feel lived in, because when you see the same character model, it's like, yeah, I don't need wild, they can be just basically different. This was the same dude who killed me in every single section. It's like, oh, I've killed you, son. You're dead. But yeah, I know what you mean. It makes it boring.
Yeah, and I just found even in the open world, I think the designs of the creatures were fantastic. I loved the fights with the even the bigger ones.
The Thunderjaw? The Thunderjaw was the fucking best.
And so what's the Thunderjaw one?
I haven't gotten that far, Tom.
Thunderjaw's basically like the T-Rex one.
The T-Rex, yeah. So the T-Rex, you come across those ones in some of those temples and that you do as well. And it's a really restricted fight arena. So you haven't got an open world to play with. You're in basically a restricted room, and you're trying to fend off this T-Rex. And I thought those were the most interesting points of the game. And actually going up against the beasts and that were fantastic. I liked the foraging aspect to it as well. And the general aesthetic of the open world was good, but there wasn't enough there like the Witcher 3 or Red Dead Redemption in the open world to make it an interesting external environment.
No, I get where you're coming from. It didn't when you saw people out in the world, you wouldn't see them really doing anything. If you were out running around,
it doesn't feel lived in.
But even just
you wouldn't really see them take down a creature. They talk about how they have hunting tribes, the tribes.
Oh no, I've seen plenty of that.
Yeah, but not as much as I would have liked it. It was all kind of set up so that you could come in and then take that down.
No, I've literally so this morning I was farming some big, I can't remember the names of the beasts of burden, but there were some big harvesting units, and I was farming them for a heart that I needed for an upgrade, and I'm in the middle of fighting them, and all of a sudden, all of the, like 4 of them have just disappeared on me. They've just run past me like I'm not there, and it's because it was a random band of bandits, random group of bandits, were just walking down the road and just fucking attacking everything, myself included.
Yeah, right.
I've come across quite a few roving war parties where they're killing creatures. Yeah, you've got the typical help me, I need rescuing missions that you can hear in the background.
I didn't come across any of that.
Really?
Yeah, maybe it's been an update. I mean, that's good if it has. Yeah, I was released. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great if they have. If they've heard that criticism and then gone back and changed that, then
it doesn't happen all the time. Yeah. So I think your point's still valid, right? It's not as much as I've enjoyed exploring the open world, beyond me and the creatures, it does feel empty most of the time. And I think that goes to the heart of what you're talking about. Is it's still it's an open world, but it's still it's too centralized on you as the player.
I think it's just it's too sparse for the way they set up the cities. Like they make those cities are pretty big. Like some of those settlements are quite big, but it never feels like it's not populated
Bustling.
to the full. It's not populated to the full. Like, and even if those guys are out there, then you should see more of those roving like parties out there. Like I think there were big parts of it, and I agree with Dan. There were big parts where it's just if you didn't like unless you're fighting like the odd creature and the same creatures, like there were parts where it was just like this is like there's not much going on out here. But then especially when you got to the hub cities, it was devoid of life. There was people there, but it was devoid of life and character, I guess I should say. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I'm enjoying. Like, I roll my eyes when I have to do a mission, and it's certainly not unique to this game. I roll my eyes when I have to do a mission where someone else is tagging along. Just fuck off.
Yeah.
I do like Assassin's Creed is exactly the same. Oh, we'll come along with you, and no. Fuck off. I'm gonna ninja in, kill everybody, and I'll finish the mission when I kill the final guy, and the alarm will never be sounded. But as soon as you add a tag along, I've got to worry about his pathing and his AI and what he's doing. It's just fuck that. So I'm kind of enjoying the lone huntress aspect of the storyline. I can see what you're saying though. Like, it doesn't feel like a lived-in world. It feels like it's you and the world, and then the hub cities.
Yeah. Whereas looking at your list, that works so much better.
Oh, that's just a random list of
no, but
open
it's
games.
Good. Like I'm looking at Mad Max, like the Mad Max game, like. That needed to feel vacant. Like, you needed to have a long stretch of desert driving along where you maybe see another, like, every once in a while you'd have a roving band of, like, cars come at you. But they like, that goes back to the world they created where it was long parts of nothingness. And that's what it was.
Yeah.
You were in that nothingness. Like, it works for that in terms of the world that you're in.
I don't know.
But in this, they just made it, they made those cities to be more...
They're mission hubs.
Yeah, well, yeah. And it's just you go see 2 or 3 guys. And it's just like, but you can still go see 2 or 3 guys, but there should be shit going on behind those 2 or 3 guys. It's like, why don't you just put the 2 or 3 guys, why don't you put the 2 or 3 guys at the front gate? And then just pretend there's stuff going on. Like, it'll make it quicker for us.
What's an example of a game that differs from that? Because I would argue this is not what differentiates a good open world game. I'm not disagreeing that your points aren't correct and accurate.
Mm.
I'd like to see games more like that. But what's an example of a game where it is hustling and bustling?
Witcher 3. Red Dead Redemption 2.
I haven't played RDR 2, but Witcher 3... I don't know. I felt like it was more fleshed out in terms of there's a lot more villages outside of the major hub cities. But beyond that, when you're out in the middle of nowhere, there's mission points where there's NPCs, but in between there's nothing.
But if you're out in the open world in The Witcher and you see a building, a burnt something, a ruins or something, you go in there. There's something there. You see a cave, a nest, something. There's something there, even if it's just a letter that has some random person's.
Did you? Okay, so going back to your statement, I don't disagree, but going back to your statement about Horizon, did you read all of the focal points you can only see when you have the focus on?
Yes.
All of the emails and SMSs in the lead up to the war?
To some of it. It's been a long time since I played it. But there was no, it wasn't as anywhere as. But
that's more history than lived in, if you get what I mean. So when it's in The Witcher, it's like if the houses were recently burning, it was like there was something that had just kind of recently happened, whereas the stuff in the focal point, that was all pre collapse of civilization, for lack of a better term. A lot of the stuff.
Yes, but I don't know. I don't want to get into a comparison between Witcher 3 and Horizon specifically, but I think both of those worlds are consistent in terms of what you're describing. I mean, in Horizon, half the people can't read and write. They're not going to be leaving records around for you to read. About what the fuck's going on.
But I mean, a story. A story doesn't need to be told through a written record. That was just what I was. That was just the specific thing that I told.
The example that you picked. Yeah,
you can go into something there, and there can be somebody's camp from the night before, or the previous weeks, or a skeleton dead on the floor in the corner holding something, or a skeleton holding a baby skeleton. It can be showed through a visual aspect too. And I mean, this is what The Witcher and Red Dead do through their visual storytelling as well as their text-based item storytelling.
Yeah, I found RDR1, because, again, I haven't played 2, but I found RDR1...
2's very different.
But I wasn't going to say anything negative about RDR. It did feel like there was a lot going on. I think one of the things that I thought about writing out the list, and so for people listening to the podcast, I've got, and it's not that long a list, but just examples of open world games. Witcher 3, Red Dead 1 and 2, Days Gone, GTA 5, and really the whole series, Fallout, the entire IP of Fallout, Horizon, Zero Dawn, Assassin's Creed, probably more from Odyssey onwards than the originals, Skyrim, No Man's Sky, Death Stranding, Mad Max, and Borderlands. So those are examples of open world games that we're talking about. One of the things I thought about writing the list was, in terms of what differentiates a good open world game from a mediocre one, for me, is am I engaged with the story? Because one of the similarities between all of those games is they've all got gopher missions. You can put lipstick on the pig as much as you like, but fundamentally, all of those games have missions where you go to a quest giver and he says, please go to this location and kill this guy or investigate this crime.
The old
which leads to... But they're all fetch quests.
Yeah.
That's not what separates a good game from a bad game, because they're all in... it's every single one of those games has examples of those.
It's the world building.
To me, it's whether or not I'm engaged in the story of the character I'm playing. That's God of War. Didn't make this list because it's not quite open world. It's open-ish, but it's not an open world game.
There's an open world section where you get to go around a lake. It's an open lake game. There you go.
Well, I mean, even the developer flat out said it's not an open world game. To me, it's about whether or not I can connect with the character and what they're going through, and the backdrop, the world that they're in. Is it interesting? Am I interested to learn more about it?
I think I'm with Dan on this one. I need the world to feel like, to a extent, lived in. You can, when you're reskinning the same character model with a different set of colors to dictate a different tribe, that's where it's like it falls a bit flat. And then sure, the character that you're playing and their story may pick that up and make it well, that's a bit, it's like a series, ranking on a scale of 1 to 10 for it. It's like, oh, well, the character story is 10, but the world lived in is 2. Like that kind of thing. Like they'll balance each other out to make it a good game. But I need to, like Skyrim, for example, is it's an off-rails open world game. It's literally you do the opening mission. Oh, you're finally awake, which is one of my favorite memes of all time. And then you're literally just unleashed on the world. You can go and chase dragons if you want, or you can go to a cave and search every single little room.
But there's always shit going on in that game. You can walk across an open savannah and get ganked by a dragon, or you can run across a random party that are out hunting fucking random creatures. That's the
mammoth battles in Skyrim, when you would run across the dudes hunting a mammoth and you'd be like, well, I'm fucked. Here we go. I'm going to kill now.
That's a great example of procedurally generated background noise is great for those kinds of games. As opposed to No Man's Sky, where the whole fucking world's procedurally generated, and as a result, every NPC is static. There is no interaction with anyone other than traders, and then some random gobbledygook to learn the languages for no other purpose than to learn the languages. Yeah. It is such a vacuous, empty universe. Can't say world. It's an open universe game. The NPCs don't even move. Like, you go to the hub city and it's literally the exact same floor plan, the exact same NPC layout with some randomly generated NPC bodies, no matter whether or not you're on one side of the universe or the other.
I agree.
I think that's the differentiator.
I think also it's very interesting just looking at that list that we've put out. I think it's not a research list or anything. It's just a quick list where you put together. But at least 5 out of that, 12 titles, for a rough guess, are post-apocalyptic set as well. Like, a lot of open world games. It probably
says something about us more than it does about the games.
No, but I think about open world games, all the open world games I've ever played, when they think of an open world, they think of a post-apocalyptic or something that will be sparse, because it's just like you will go into that open world and you will discover things that happen. It's like it's a bit hard when it's...
And yet, like Skyrim, Fallout, there's always shit going on that has nothing to do with you. I've always
plenty of times playing Fallout 4 where I was walking through just being like, just walking along. Occasionally I'd run into a bug, shoot it, keep walking along.
You're still playing in a world where there has been a nuclear war and we're a few hundred years later. Like, it's not like it's a heavily populated world. So
no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of developers are choosing that post-apocalyptic kind of scenario for their open world because
probably because it's impossible to script 6 trillion fucking separate character paths.
That's what I'm saying. It's a nice shortcut to creating an open world, because you can go out into the open world and you don't have to script characters every 10 meters.
So pull this back to, say, let's go old school. The original Assassin's Creed game. Open world, single city. Open world game, open city.
Yeah,
well, I guess
I'm not arguing on the word world. What you do inside the game is pretty on rails.
Yeah, but I'm not talking
in a very specific order.
No. I'm not talking about what you're doing. I'm talking about and then you talk about like the Assassin's Creed 2 and things like that. Like they're open world games where you have very, very little interaction with the number of people that are in those cities. But every one of those cities Phil lived in. Every one of those worlds Phil fleshed out to an absolute umpteenth degree
all
where
the
you
way
could go
up to the current game.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think that I was pulling one from way back to say, look, if they can do this back then, why are these mistakes still being made?
Did you guys ever play? It was one of my top 9 games. Did you ever play the game Gun by Activision?
No.
It's back on the PS2 and the GameCube.
I think I played it on the PC.
Possibly, yeah, you would possibly played it on the PC. It was Red Dead before Red Dead was thought in Dad's eye.
It had a yellow and black cover or
cover.
Screen.
Yeah. So it's a Western game.
You guys keep talking. I'm just going to go feed this cat because he won't leave me the fuck alone.
Copy. But it was that you went to, it's a Western, so there are only pockets of civilization that appear. But every time you went into one of those towns, there was dudes going from saloon to saloon, picking up prostitutes, going to a card game. Like, there was things going on in the background that you didn't have to be involved in. But if you stopped and watched, you'd be like, oh, I'm in a Western town. Or like if you went into like they had I think from memory they had the duels. I'm pretty sure they had some showdown moments where you went to a town and you had to do a showdown, but everyone would run into the houses and get behind boards to be like, well, if bullets are flying, I'm going to get behind this piece of wood to stop it. But that's a lived-in world. It's like they're reacting to what's going on. But so many times in like what we're talking about, like Horizon, you could do something outside the city and like people would be like, oh, well, I guess she's just, that's happening. Best get on with my sewing. Like, you know, it's just they don't react. I think that's the thing. They don't react to what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
Around
That's definitely one of the things. And I think Pete had a very good point, and probably, to my idea, probably sort of hit the nail on the head as well, is in Horizon. And don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the game. Like, I thought it was a really creative, well designed,
the sequel.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the sequel as well. And
it's out in about a month as well.
And Pete, yeah, it is. Yeah, February something. Yeah. Pete hit it. There's no doubt in that game that you feel like that world is, you're the hero of that world.
Yeah.
Like from the very beginning, you get that very sense. You're out in the open world. You're taking down the big monsters. You're doing this. You're going to the towns. You're getting these jobs, because it does feel a little limited in everybody else that's around. That it definitely feels like everything in there is structured around you being the hero and you succeeding. As where, even though Geralt's story and Arthur's story in Red Dead, obviously you're the protagonist in that game, and you are going to have an influence on the turnout of that world. Red Dead's different because it's a much smaller story. It's only based around the band of people that Arthur's with. But with Geralt's story, it is world changing, but he never feels like the hero of it. It's, in my mind, Ciri is always the hero, and that is the way it's written. And he is there to get her to where she needs to be for things to continue. Yeah. And I think that's just the little bit different, the way that I see it. I guess Pete got it right. Is they've structured this world around, I don't even remember her name in Horizon.
Aloy,
yeah. They've structured this world around her and what she does, and everything that she does is
special,
affecting the world and special. As where a lot of the other, and Fallout, you're a fucking nobody. You're a nobody vault dweller.
You don't even play the same vault dweller in the same vault across games.
Exactly. So
how unimportant you are.
It's it just feels like that's
still
the
you
way
say that. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah, you come back, you sit down, you think you're can just take control of the fucking conversation. 2 seconds down, just fucking disregard everything that was said in the last 5 minutes that you haven't even been fucking listening to.
Well, I picked up on the fucking theme pretty quickly.
Yeah.
He was actually, for a lot of the time, he was agreeing with you. So now...
Yeah, it was. So fuck you.
No, it was just... you say that, and yet Fallout 3, the main premise of the game is your vault has the water purifiers fucked, and you have to go and find the Garden of Eden kit. I can't remember what it's actually... The GECK. Creation kit. Garden of Eden creation kit. And so you are the savior of your vault. So you're pretty... You start as a nobody, but you become pretty important. And I think there's a lot of parallels to a lot of these games. You start as nobody in quite a lot of these different games. And
whereas Fallout 4, you're just trying to find your son. Just like
Mad
Thomas
Max,
Jane.
you just want your fucking car. You just want your car back. You go through this whole
Shit
trouble.
Gets in the way.
You just want your fucking car. It doesn't matter.
GTA 5, you play three different characters.
You have to create the Opus Magnum.
Yeah,
it's even better.
So what makes a good open world game? What makes the standouts?
It needs to be a lived in world, but then
shit's going on in the background.
Yeah, but then your character needs to feel involved in that lived in world. You can't have You can't have a lived-in world and then your character doing the whole separate story. It doesn't affect that lived-in world.
At the same time,
which is a challenge. Which is a challenge to create.
At the same time, you also have to be important to that world, or else, what's the fucking point?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Well,
you need to
think,
feel like you affect that world.
I think that comes back to what I was saying about Red Dead. I mean, Red Dead 2, it's Arthur and his gang. I mean, they have zero effect on the outside world. All they are doing this entire game is trying to evade the law and survive. They have zero effect on what is happening. Some little bits and pieces happen here and there.
0.5 effect on.
Yeah.
Whereas in the first game, you are responsible for the genocide of the bison.
Yeah, well, that too. But I mean, in the first game, it's the same. Like it is like John's character is just hunting down. He's just begrudgingly doing the work of the Pinkertons and hunting down the outlaws. I mean, these are guys that are. These stories aren't affecting the way the country's run. They're not affecting how the world's run. They're not affecting the history of it. They are just a story in a world.
But
and
I don't think
that speaks even more.
I don't think that's a necessary ingredient for a great open world game, though, because there's been great open world games where you are very influential on the world. So I guess,
but I think that
the intellectual discussion is what is the difference between a good and a.
It's got to come down to characters' involvement with what's happening in the world, not necessarily their influence on it, but what is happening. And
you can't have a character, your main character, who's changing the entire world, not interact with
that world.
Well, just anyone. Like even if it's a throwaway NPC line, like it could be anything. It could be anything. Like
I agree.
The amount of times, like, so playing Mafia 3 at the moment, like as I've like taken over more of the area, more people on the street have been like, "Yo, what's up, Lincoln?" And it's like, okay, cool. Like, but I'm in like the rich white part of town at the moment, which is and it's like, there are people in that thing who are just like, "Hey, you're the guy doing the thing." Like, it's just it's that little. But I won't have to interact with them. I don't have to get a quest off them or a mission or anything. It's just as I'm walking past, they're like, and he'll go, "Hey, man, what's going on?"
So
that's enough. That feels
your
natural.
Interaction with the world needs to feel like it has a purpose and a result. The world needs to be going on. I'm just trying to distill what makes a great game, a great open world game. The world needs to feel like it's continuing without your presence, but you still have your actions throughout the game.
The world will go on if you're not there, but they'll recognize.
But you still have
you're doing something to that world,
a measurable impact. I don't know why you were smiling there, Dan. I've gone into.
Or you're going to completely destroy that world.
Was I smiling?
One of the two.
Yeah.
Rather
creepily, actually.
I think. I think the other thing for me is I have to actually be interested in the backstory, and that's what's really got me hooked with Horizon Zero Dawn, because I can see what you're talking about, and I can feel like I'm only halfway through the game, right? So I've only just gotten to Meridian, and I'm starting to explore from there, which is the second major hub city, really, after the Mother's Embrace. So I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through the game, maybe halfway through the game.
I think if you don't include halfway through,
if you don't include the expansion, but I'm thoroughly enjoying the main quest storyline. I'm enjoying reading all of the data points that you pick up about you're living in this post-apocalyptic world that's presumably 1,000+ years after present day, 2022, and yet the emails and the SMS history and the video messages and even the holographic messages, you can easily, and it's projected into 2060, 2070, 2070, which is when I assume this Zero Dawn thing, I still don't know what that is, occurred, and the androids revolted, and shit's starting to go weird, and you can see the text exchanges, and all their house bots are going crazy, and the vacuum cleaner and the oven's not printing food properly, and all the... I'm thoroughly enjoying the backstory that got to this post-apocalyptic tribal world, and I'm also enjoying her individual story, even though she was elevated to Seeker very quickly, and then how the fuck does the other tribe on the other side of this wasteland with no telegraphic communications, no phones, no SMSs, how do they know she's a seeker the minute she walks up to the gate? There's a little bit of unrealisticness to it. But I think for me, and same with Witcher hooked me not because the world, maybe what makes it a great game is the world is lived in, it's going on with or without you. You have a bearing on that world through your actions. But his individual story, his personal story, has an emotional connection to the player. It has to be interesting. So, I don't know. For me, those are the three ingredients.
Yeah, I'm not.
I guess, yeah. You go, Dan.
I'm not pulling Zero Dawn down for its ability. I'm not pulling it down for its overall story. I'm pulling it down for more for the execution of the world. And I mean, did I do that shit? No, not in a million fucking years.
That's not the point. You know what? I'm just going to pull you up on that, Dan. You said that a couple of episodes ago about the writing of a movie, and could you write a script like as better than that? No, I'm sorry, that's not a good measure. We pay, they get paid. They are at the top of their game. You are a couch critic like the rest of us. We literally pay them, the entertainment industry, to fucking entertain us. Doesn't mean that we could do better. They can still fail in their job from our perspective, even if we can't do better.
Yeah, no.
Like the guy can come to my house and do a shit job of painting my house. Could I paint the house better? No. Is it a shit job? Yes.
Yeah, okay. I understand that, but you've got to give credit where credit's due. The complexity of writing the code that writes that I guess makes a world more lived in, makes X world more lived in and more vibrant than Y world is a complex thing. And some people don't have those skills. Did they make an incredible, amazing, unique story in a different world? Are those organic animal, dinosaur, machine, hybrid things amazing and something new in an IP that we'd never seen before? Yeah, fucking excellent.
I love the imagination that went in behind that
Does
game.
the second game look like, so far from all the trailers and everything they've shown
of
it,
the first?
but does it look like it's answered all of those things?
Yeah.
It looks like they've answered all of those criticisms of the first game and have addressed them in the second one. Like, there's much more maneuverability when climbing things. It's not just... You're not just designated to climbing. And that's one of the big things that broke me out of the world, like that you can only climb the yellow things.
I have to admit there's been a couple of times when I'm starting to approach the peak of a long climbing session and I'm waiting for the big uplifting music for the synchronization point from Assassin's Creed games. Because it almost felt like that was just thrown in there and it's just too similar. There was no originality about that.
Any game now that kind of has any sort of climbing like that too. Like,
disagree. God of War 2018, you do quite a lot of climbing in that game and it never felt like that.
That's one game out of many that have copied the Assassin's Creed parkour in recent years.
Yes, but it didn't... You're right, it copied the mechanic, but it implemented a similar mechanic without it feeling like a carbon
I'm not
copy.
saying it's a bad climbing thing. I'm just saying a lot of games have taken that Assassin's Creed.
I think
flavor
Horizon is a bad carbon copy.
Added it to. I wouldn't say it's a carbon copy. I would say there are the original Infamous games are a much worse carbon copy. If you want to get to carbon copies of games that I thoroughly enjoyed as well, but there are a lot of games who've gone, well, we're going to add climbing to this. Guess you'd be able to be like semi parkour it because Assassin's Creed did it. Like, but you know. That's always going to happen in terms of certain things that happen in those games.
You know, the irony is the list that I threw up in the show notes just to kind of fuel our conversation is probably with some exceptions, it's probably an example of a list of great games. Like No Man's Sky is pretty popular, even though I didn't rate it and I don't think any of us did. It's still I
think you're the only one who played it as well.
Sure. But there's a reason why Dan didn't play it, because he was interested in it when it was talked about.
I was interested in it, but then before I bought it, I saw reviews being like, this is shit.
I
don't usually look at reviews, but if enough reviews go, it's shit, I'll be like, well, it might be shit.
But my point is, my list to prompt our kind of discourse didn't include any really terrible open world games.
So what's a terrible open world game?
I don't know. I was just actually, I'm just looking online now. Mafia 3 is ranked the 8th worst open world game. No Man's Sky.
I don't know. I would
Metal Gear Survive.
I think Metal Gear Survive was. I haven't played it, but I think that was just a bad game.
Driver. It was Raven's Cry.
Oh, Driver San Francisco broke my PS3, so I always hate that game.
It just looks like a GTA ripoff, to be honest.
It was yeah, but it was like set in like it was like you felt like a 70s San Francisco detective, so it had a cool soundtrack. But yeah, it broke my PS3. I'll never forgive it.
It's funny.
Anthem was a really fucking shit open world game. Fuck me. Great Iron Man suits, shitty gameplay.
I'm only halfway through Horizon, not even, according to you, Tom.
Yeah, I think if you haven't started to figure out who, the big bad is, you're probably just a little bit. If you've only just got to the big city, I think you're still, which is great. You've got a fair bit to go. It's good. Lucky you.
But and the open world-iness is already starting to get a little bit boring because I'm out there collecting all the collectibles and doing all the things that I always do that probably encourage a feeling of boredom. I know, Dan, you criticised me for that, and that's a rod I've made for my own back.
Yep, I'm glad you said it. No, I didn't have to.
Yeah, and I can see that point.
Get on
right?
my level.
I don't have to go and collect all of the metal flowers. I don't have to go and do all the parkour to get to the Bacchus statues and all the rest of it. But it is some of it's feeling a little bit dragging. But while I'm doing that, I'm also scanning for data points, and I'm really enjoying the historical points that you pick up in the backstory. And to me, whether it's an open world genre, and that's what we're focused on in this episode, but whether it's an open world game or an on rails game or a third person perspective tactical game, it always comes down to story for me. It has to be an interesting setting with an interesting story for the character you're portraying. And that's what, to me, differentiates a great game from an average one. You can have excellent coding and excellent backstory, or background characters. But if I don't give a fuck about the person I'm playing, or the world that I'm living in, or why I'm doing what I'm doing, No Man's Sky is I'm making it sound conceited, but No Man's Sky is an example where there is nothing to connect with. It's a character traveling to the center of the universe to get to the middle, and then get teleported out to the very edge of another universe to get to the middle, to get teleported out to the edge of the universe to get to the middle. It's a game of futility. You have zero impact on anyone, ever. And there's no storyline.
Yep. Well, I mean, the reason that we do this and watch movies and watch TV shows and read books and everything is to be told a story. If there's no story, there's obviously a certain amount of fun and enjoyment in creating your own story. But I mean, most of us go to these medias to be told a story. I mean, it's a fucking, lack of a better term, it's a story as old as humankind. I mean, when there was nothing else to do, we were audibly told stories that were handed down and further on. I mean, it's what mythology is. It's coded into our DNA.
Dan loves to shit on our ability to go and trophy hunt and whatever.
No. I just don't understand it.
Just respects that it's a different style of playing games.
No, but that's I only do that between the stories. Rarely will I go and I'll have games that I haven't 100%ed. I've got the platinum because I've got those certain trophies, but I don't feel a need to go back and go through that world to get all those little things. If they come naturally, or if it has a purpose in that, I feel that adds to the story. But that's what drives most of my ability to go and collect all those collectibles, is it will add to something to the story. I think most of the time they do, even if it's you don't have to read it. So many of those collectibles are lore based, which is what Pete's talking about here, where it just adds that extra bit to the story. But yeah,
unless it's feathers, because Ezio's mum
Fucking
gave
feathers.
Ezio's dad 431 feathers in a box, and then the feathers
Yeah.
somehow got dispersed across fucking Italy, and you have to go and collect
Well,
them.
it's strong breeze through that Italian town. Just puts them on the roof. They get stuck on one tile.
I'm sorry, that's just flat out unimaginative coding. That's all it is. The game developers
it's probably also the developer having a little bit of fun with you, being like, you want to collect these.
Ugh.
You want to see that 100%. You want to do it, Peter. Collect the feathers. Climb the tower, Peter. Get
and
the
yet
feather.
all of the trophies in Horizon are just play the fucking game. And then if you want to mop up at the end for the platinum, then mop up after the fact. There's nothing that's locked out. There's nothing missable.
Yeah.
There's nothing time critical. Just play the goddamn game. And if you want a platinum, then finish the game, finish the story we want to tell you, and then go and enjoy exploring the rest of the open world.
Yeah.
And I respect lots of games for that choice because, good trophy hunting is about exploring everything the developer coded into the game to give you a little bit of storyline. So shit trophy hunting is go and collect 431 feathers from roofs because you've already been there and it's just a fucking feather. Good trophy hunting is go and collect all of the little micro stories and the data points and read them while you're
it depends if
collecting
you
them.
want to read them. Like,
if you don't bother.
I always kind of want to read the lore in games. Like, if I have to go and collect something and it's going to get me a trophy at the end, but I'll read it. Like, because then you think, which one of the developers sat down to write that fucking story? Like, who had that fucking that's crazy for me. A lot of the times,
well, I mean, even
those stories, it's stories within the story kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's what made Witcher 3 great. There were so many stories in inside the story.
Yeah.
Like the major storyline, the minor side quests, and there was so many other little stories going on.
Yeah, a big one for me was
you could participate in or walk past.
Yeah. But collecting the backpacks in Spider-Man, you didn't need to do it. Sure, you maybe got a different skin at the end of it, but it also told you 40 years worth of Spider-Man stories in tiny little snippets. And it means they don't have to bog you down. If you don't want to, you can go swap, there's a backpack. I'll just press the button and collect it. But if you want to go into it, there's a whole story connected to it. And it just adds all that extra little bits of flavor to, the soup that is the game you're playing.
We probably need to wrap soon, but I think, Dan, you kind of hit the nail on the head. But the one thing I will say is, we go to these we go to these mediums for escapism to get away from real life. And I think what really at the base, and we're not talking about open world games, we're talking about games more generally and probably other media. We want to be told a story, but we also want to escape from the real world. And the real world is boring, it's repetitive, it's cyclic, it's predictable, and so
speak for your bloody self.
Yeah,
well,
I was going to say.
Do you
I think
find
the last 2 years have been anything but boring and repetitive and cyclical?
I'm talking macro. I'm not talking micro. I'm not talking specifics. I'm not talking specific people. I'm not talking. If you really boil it down, do you get a whole lot of enjoyment out of doing your washing? You have to do your dishes every day.
I do.
You have to shower and brush your teeth every day.
Washing.
You get my point, right? People want to escape from the. Do you ever see characters in movies or in games? Let's move away from movies for a second.
You never played Heavy Rain, did you?
No, I didn't. How many characters have you ever played in a video game where every 24 hours you have to stop whatever you're doing and take a shit? Absolutely none.
No. Conan Exiles. One of those survival games.
I knew there'd be a fucking exception.
There are those survival games.
You get my point, right?
No, but that's a whole separate style of gameplay. If you don't eat, you can't walk.
You can
if you don't have,
there's plenty of games where you have to eat.
You can put that.
No. But I'm talking about. No. If you don't stop and eat and drink, your character dies, and you end your game.
There are plenty of games.
Yeah, they're survival games. So there's a whole genre out there, which I have played. I've played Conan
But you never stop in the middle of a fucking quest on a bike chase.
No, you have
Days
to.
Gone.
No,
you don't pull over to the side of the. You don't pull over to the side of the road and take a piss. Like,
I'm saying you just said
You're
there's no
missing
games to
my
do that.
point.
I'm saying you said a thing and I proved you wrong.
Sorry, eating versus taking a dump, those are two very different things. Next time you go
No,
to
they're cause and effect, Peter. They're cause and effect.
Next time you go to a fancy restaurant, take a dump on the table and let them know it's cause and effect. It's the same thing. It's very fucking different. My point is,
it's you're making your human live. It's making your character live in that game. You're the one splitting hairs here. You're just angry that I've shown you there's a game that's doing that. You have to do that in that game.
I think I very specifically said name one game where you take a dump in the middle of the game. Every 24 hours. My point is,
I'm talking about
a good game.
Fine, whatever.
A good game.
Great game.
Takes you away from the cyclic nature of reality. The bad ones are open world games, or going back to our original topic, open world games where you have to do the same thing over and over again. It breaks the point of playing the game. You're trying to escape the monotony of the day-to-day boring stuff. I'm not saying life is boring. It's not a depressing statement or a depressed statement. There's lots of excitement in our lives.
You said life was pretty boring.
But the day-to-day realities, you go to work, you do the same thing. I mean, on a broader scale, there's lots of excitement, but the day-to-day activities you have to do, you play a video game to break it up, right? Or you watch a movie to break it up. And you don't want to have to fucking re-experience what you're trying to escape from inside that game, inside that media.
Well, we don't, but I was arguing that there are people that do, and that's why those games exist.
Those people exist, you're right. Those people play Sims and those types of games where, like, I get it.
You are right in the sense that when I get to go in an open world game and I get to speed in traffic uncontrollably, I'm not going to do that in my car. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to get the fine. Or
I'll never forget almost crashing my car. I'll never forget almost crashing my old shitbox Lancer because I literally spent 12 hours in Project Gotham when the Xbox first came out. It's a racing car.
Oh, no, I agree with you. If I'm playing a racing game,
immediately got in my Lancer.
Yeah, I need to take a break before I drive my car.
Almost crashed my fucking car because I'm driving angry in race car mode in my shitty little car in real life.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No. There is that escapism, and I totally agree with that, but I also think, like, you can't...
But bad games fail to help you escape, I think is my point.
Yes, and as we were saying to that, I think it comes to that lived-in world. Like, you need that world to be anonymous, but you can be doing exceptional things.
Yeah.
That adds to that level of
escapism. It needs to feel fleshed out for it to feel real.
So otherwise you're building on nothing.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts, Dan?
Nope.
Nope, you guys
Dan
fight.
checked out when I started talking about taking dumps in video games.
About then.
Cool. Tom?
I think I've made my points. And I think I won. Victory.
It doesn't have to be a conflict.
It's always a conflict. It's a video game. We're all in a video game.
Thank you very much for listening.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome
First
to
one.
season 5. Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Happy Jasper Day, everybody. Gonna get my second Jasper Ale.
Cheers, lads.
Alrighty. See you later.
See you guys.